God, as we do rise up today, Lord, we do so to recognize your presence in our life. And Father, as we do so, we remember the men and women of our armed forces, as well as the first responders that are protecting the liberty that we enjoy today, both here at home and around this world. We ask you to be with them and be with their families. Watch over these drivers, teams, officials today. Give everybody a great day, a safe day of racing. And may your peace and may your presence just be with us all. In your holy name we pray. Amen.
Here to perform our national anthem, please welcome actress, singer, and Emmy award-winning co-host of The Real, Adrienne Houghton.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
Just outside Fontana sits Los Angeles, the unmistakable entertainment capital of the world. But lately, the highways and freeways that zigzag from this area have been leading to the hometowns of the best drivers in the world. Travel south on Interstate 5 to San Diego and then turn towards the desert. You'll hit El Cajon, home of the 7-time champ, Jimmy Johnson. Head north on the 5, split off to the 99, and well, you've entered the town of Bakersfield, home to champion Kevin Harvick. Keep going north a couple of 100 miles. You'll get to a little town called Elk Grove, old stomping grounds of Kyle Larson. Take the 80 west toward the Pacific Ocean until you've come to the city called Vallejo. A hero of Kyle Larson's was born there. His name, Jeff Gordon. The cars, the culture, the champions, all of them wrapped into one state. This is California.
So from California to Charlotte, it was a busy week in the Queen City this week. NASCAR Hall of Fame announced the most recent nominees for the class of 2020. These are the 6 men who could find themselves in the Hall this upcoming year. What an accomplishment. Good luck to all of these drivers. Certainly well-deserved for every single one of them. Guys, it is almost race time, and we all love racing in the state of California. The stars come out. We've already seen them down on the grid. The sun is shining. Hollywood in the background of this entire race. Of course, Kevin Harvick on the front row alongside Austin Dillon. Big race out there. Let's go trackside for the command to start engines in California.
And now for the most famous words in motorsports from Netflix, The Dirt, based on the life of rock and roll legends Motley Crue. Please welcome Vince Neil, Nikki Sixx, Tommy Lee, Mick Mars, Colson Baker, a.k.a. Machine Gun Kelly, and Douglas Booth. Drivers, start your engine!
Only in Southern California, the epicenter of America's car and music culture. We are ready to race just east of Los Angeles, down in the shadow of Cucamonga Peak, still snow covered. And we're ready to roll on one of the widest speedways ever built in America. Hi, everybody. Mike Joy now joined by Darrell Waltrip and Jeff Gordon, fresh from their trip down on the racetrack, and that's what we want to talk about. You know how big the freeways are here and how wide they are? Well, they're no wider than Auto Club Speedway.
Mike, you look at this racetrack, it's very wide. It's 50 feet wide here at the front straightaway. But as it goes down toward the first turn, down the back's 54 feet wide. An interstate, a lane on the interstate is about 12 feet wide. So you can see here in the corners, 70 feet wide in the corners. We get 10 cars in there if we needed to.
You know how wide Interstate 10 is at its widest point in California? 70 feet. Jeff, this track has an old soul. Well, it has an old surface, very much like Atlanta. You've been down there. It's very, very abrasive.
Yeah, if only this track could talk, Mike. It goes back all the way to 1997. Darrell and I were competing in that first race here, but you look at these seams. This racetrack has a lot of different lanes, but it's separated by these seams that over time have separated. Now it's filled up with this filler. Even the track through the corners has a lot of cracks. So these drivers, as they get down to turns 1 and 2 on this initial start and on restarts, are going to be looking and searching for grip. And I think that you're going to see these guys, when this race is over, their hands are going to be aching, probably even some blisters.
Well, it's a fun place to watch a race. They'll fan out on restarts. They'll hunt for a lane. Larry McReynolds, how does that challenge a crew chief?
Mike, this racetrack challenges everything about that race car. It is a rough surface. It even has bumps on the straightaway. Look right here, going down the back straightaway, how the car's going up and down. Now, what crew chiefs will do, look at those left side tires. They lower the air pressure because this is more grip. But what it does, it hurts the durability of that tire early in the run. The one thing I have to do with my driver after a pit stop with fresh tires, knowing those air pressures are down, absolutely, you have to be careful with these tires in the early part of a run because you'll have an issue on into the run.
Tonight, the sun sets on NASCAR's West Coast swing in the Golden State, home to some of NASCAR's biggest stars. But today, the North Carolinian sits on the pole. Another driver from NC joins his teammates from Connecticut and Michigan, all looking to win at a track their owner built. Now last year, a Jersey boy dominated this race, winning both stages and the checkered flag. But today, will they all be chasing this Sin City Speedster, going for a big round number and a career personal best?
There you go, buddy.
Oh, thank you, man. Appreciate it.
And you're going to talk to the 10.
Yeah, I'll talk to you. Yeah, I'll dial him up. Hey, Eric, it's DW. You got me, buddy?
Yes, sir.
The West Coast swing, I love the West Coast swing. I generally stay out the whole time after Las Vegas, do a few things throughout Las Vegas, between Vegas and Phoenix, then head to Fontana and get done racing and jet home.
The West Coast swing's tough on everybody. It's a time change, it's a travel, being away that long, but it's a lot of fun to get in some warm weather and have some good racing.
Time change never really bothered me. When the sun comes up, it's up. When the sun goes down, you go to sleep.
I'm a back and forth guy for the West Coast swing. I don't like to stay out here. I like to be home as much as I can be. Some long flights, but it's worth it when you're at home.
Southern California, we're ready to race.
Boogity, boogity, boogity. Let's go racing, boys.
And here they come.
Look at that. That's amazing.
The headlines will read, Jersey boy goes California dreaming. We welcome you to the Auto Club 400 on Fox. From Auto Club Speedway in Fontana, California, this big, wide, racy 2-mile speed plant has the field in tow. And out front is the Toyota Camry XSE pace car with a special guest driver. That is WWE legend Rey Mysterio. Behind the wheel, gesture of Daniel Suarez. And getting to have a little bit of fun here. WWE SmackDown moves to Fox Friday nights beginning October 4th. So as the masked man leads the field, a Chevy and a Ford share the front row. Austin Dillon and Kevin Harvick. It's a Ford Toyota row 2 with Eric Almirola and Kyle Busch. The rest of your starting grid will scroll across the bottom of the screen as the field moves into a slightly different formation. Instead of 2x2, they're going to do a 5-wide fan salute. Short track style. I like that.
Looks like a restart.
Kind of a preview of what starts and restarts will look like here, isn't it?
Fighting for position.
Well, that's great. Auto Club Speedway putting on a show for these fans before they get the green flag.
And as the 41 comes by the grandstand, you'll see Daniel's Amigos, a fan-focused movement led by Coca-Cola to engage with Latino NASCAR fans and share a little bit of Daniel's culture with all fans. Daniel is sharing the Fox Visor Cam with you today.
Oh, there's going to be some phenomenal footage coming from this great view.
And Mike, I don't care who you are, biggest race fan in the world, never watched before. That is an amazing looking pace lap. What an incredible look.
That is impressive.
I love that. That's just, it gets my old heart pumping.
Can they just drop the green now?
It'll probably look that way. That is something. I love that. Good job.
Well done.
What do you say we, I think we can talk to Eric Almirola. He's right up in the middle of this crowd. Hey, Eric Almirola, this is DW. You got me, buddy? You got time to talk?
Yeah, I'm right in the middle of the hornet's nest, probably like we'll be all day. Yeah, I got time for you.
Yeah, it kind of reminded us of a restart. But, hey, man, you're off to a great start. You got 3 top 10s already this year. Very, very consistent. How's the car for today? You got a shot at winning this thing?
I think we do. Our Farmer John Ford Mustang has been really good all weekend. You know, we've got really good speed, and it's just a matter of making sure we can hold on to it throughout the run. That's been the biggest thing we've been focused on all day yesterday in practice, and we'll be really focused on today in the race. You know, making speed is one thing, but doing it throughout 30 to 40 laps of a run is the most important. So hopefully we've made the right adjustments going into today, and we'll keep this Farmer John Ford Mustang up front, out of all the craziness that's going to be happening, I'm sure.
All right, my friend, good luck. We'll be watching, and put her in victory circle. You're due.
All right, thanks, boys. Y'all have fun, and hopefully everybody tuned in to Fox enjoys the show.
Thanks, Eric. We've been talking about racing movies all weekend long, so in honor of the 50th anniversary of Herbie the Love Bug, we'll start with our VW. Vince Welch.
Thanks a lot, Mike. Hey, a bit of a nervous situation around our pole sitter, Austin Dillon. He came down ill last night, was even worse this morning. Spent time in the medical center today getting a couple of bags of IV. Even so concerned, they've got a driver on standby, and that's yesterday's Xfinity Series winner, Cole Custer. Custer even was fitted in the seat, fitted in a helmet of Austin's, even wearing Austin's driver's suit as he sits here on the pit box. They even changed the left side belts in the car to better fit Cole Custer. Austin then got in the car, didn't like it, so they switched back to Austin's belt. Austin says, and he assures the team, I'm not getting out of this thing. Matt Yoakum?
Vince, after the Penske 3, the car to watch could be Denny Hamlin in the 11, starts in row 3. Now, Hamlin's crew chief, Chris Gabehart, they found the right balance between drivability and speed on the last 2 runs in final practice. They think this racetrack is going to come to them. Why? It's the hottest we've seen all weekend. It's going to be slick, so handling is going to be so important. And they just feel like it's going to come to them also because there's no breeze upsetting the race car down in turns 3 and 4. Jamie?
Well, Ryan Blaney had his breakout race of the season in Phoenix last week, led 94 laps and brought it home third. His best finish by a lot. Well, they feel like they've carried that momentum here to California. His crew chief, Jeremy Bolins, told me he's happy with the car they chose to bring here and the speed that it's shown so far. But he's really excited about the changes they made this morning. He knows it's going to be hot and slick, and they feel that's going to play into their hands. Larry Mack?
Yeah, let's take a look at our race analysis for this race today. We're going to go 200 laps and 400 miles. The stage is a little interesting. 60, 60, and 80 to the checkered flag. Pit road, it's been a nemesis this year, 55 miles per hour. The fuel window, 42 to 46 laps. Grip level, no grip. It's a 1. And Matt Tiff in that 36 car goes to the rear because of an engine change, Mike.
Thanks, Larry. I think that 1 is generous. Everybody at the ready. Rey Mysterio is going to make the hard left turn onto pit road. And we're ready to race in the Golden State.
Oh, yeah. It's our final race of our West Coast swing. The boys are all ready to go rocking and rolling here today. Boogity, boogity, boogity. Let's go racing, boys. Is this the start of the race?
There's that 5 wide we talk about off of turn 2.
I liked how after last week, Kevin Harvick was very careful not to even be close to beating Austin Dillon to the start line and incur a penalty.
We talked about how wide it is. We forgot to include the apron because they use that in turn 3 a lot.
Denny Hamlin leads the first lap, coming from 6th place.
He made a pretty aggressive move on his teammate Kyle Busch coming off of turn 2 to get to the outside of Kyle, shuffled Kyle back, but he didn't stop there. He kept that momentum going off of turn 4 and took the lead.
Mike, they were slicing and dicing, Mike. I like that.
What's wrong with Harvick?
He
is falling like a rock.
With this aerodynamic package and horsepower, you just cannot recover if you have to check up. I have a feeling he got a little bit loose, maybe had to check up off the throttle, lost that momentum.
Yeah, these engines don't recover quite as quick as what these guys maybe would like, but this package is pretty racy.
Harvick has dropped to 7th as Hamlin leads lap 2 from Dillon, Almirola, and Stenhouse. Both the Roush Fenway cars qualifying in the top 10 this week.
Well, and our pole sitter, Austin Dillon, he's shown great short run speed really all year long. It's just the long run speed. It's the handling in these corners. But today, so far, he looks like he's going to hang in there for a lot longer than he has.
Fast forwards coming on the outside. Here comes Almirola and Stenhouse.
The 3 bunch told me they've packed that thing full of downforce this week to see if that was the problem. Right now, it looks pretty good.
Yeah, it does. And I'll tell you who else looks pretty good is Ricky Stenhouse Jr. working with Eric Almirola, giving him a nice push off the corner.
New leader, Almirola.
I think that's our 3rd different leader, or 4th different leader that we've had in 2 laps.
I know we talked to Eric on the opening here, but I tell you, that 10 car, he's been so impressive, Mike. Very consistent, runs near the front all the time. He could be a winner today.
And we question what happened to Kevin Harvick, Vince.
Well, and Jeff indicated maybe he got a little loose, and Kevin confirmed it. And I know, guys, it was just a couple of laps in, but Harvick already sounded out of breath. He really had to catch that thing. It got way, way loose on him in that corner.
First time Eric Almirola has led here. Daniel Suarez on the move.
And Daniel made some great moves right at the start. We saw a wide out shot. Oh, he just lost a spot there to Jimmy Johnson, but he went to the top lane on the initial start and passed probably 5 or 6 cars.
He's gained 11 positions since the start.
I think, Mike, with this aero package and horsepower we have, when you've got them all in front of you like this is when you need to capitalize.
Now, this is something we're going to see a lot of. See how those 2 cars got side by side? They're going to stall out, and there it is. That move of the 18 on Kyle Busch is going to take advantage of that stalled out. Those 2 cars stalled out, and he's going to pass both of them. Maybe even go after his teammate Denny Hamlin down in turn 1. And he does.
Rowdy Busch wasting no time, challenging for 2nd. But that high line, Jeff, has always been good coming off turn 2.
It really has. Once the tires start to lose some grip, you can't run on the bottom lane and get that run off the corner like you can off the top. Now that these cars have that big spoiler and a little bit less horsepower, I think the top groove, middle to top groove is going to be even more advantageous.
Got the 11 18 back here pushing each other, giving each other a nice push off into turn 1, trying to catch up with that 10 car who's way out there.
Now it'll be Busch who has the launch off the top of the racetrack. Hamlin comes up to cover the spot. Busch closes in. Stenhouse and Dillon continue to draft 4th and 5th.
Yeah, Mike, one thing we talk about week in, week out is short run, long run cars, and what makes a difference and what do you want. Well, right now, Almirola's obviously got a pretty good short run car. We'll see if it hangs on or not. But I think the long run car is what we're going to need because this thing's going to go green for a long time. It usually does.
At 6th place, here comes Harvick against Blaney coming back. And here's Jimmy Johnson right behind them in 8th.
Well, this is really, the sun is out and the track is hotter than it's been all weekend long. They've been dealing with wind, not having to deal with wind today. I think what they're going to be dealing with is just the grip going away on these tires. A lot, as you heard right there, Kevin Harvick having to get out of the throttles. Jimmy Johnson goes to the outside.
Yeah, Johnson got on the outside of it and almost pulled that 4-car around. He must be hanging on that thing, Jeff. That thing must be loose.
Well, and I think you want to start your car off loose so that it does come to you over the long run. So we'll keep an eye on the 4-car and see if that does come to him. What do you got, Vince?
Well, there's certainly hope so, but right now Kevin says it is just too loose, and he is indeed hanging on. You know, they felt like they'd had a good car this weekend, not a great car, and Rodney Childers, the crew chief, told me they made minor changes for today, but right now Kevin Harvick is needing every bit of ability he has to keep this thing under him.
See Daniel Suarez looking back from Kevin Harvick. The car behind Suarez is William Byron, who has jumped 10 positions from the start of the race, from 22nd to 12th.
Yeah, you know, Mike, I think the Hendrick cars are a little bit better every week. They were pretty good last week. Jimmy Johnson ran well, but I think today they're all running pretty good.
Well, we talk about how Jimmy Johnson's been so successful here. Part of that, Chad Knaus, crew chief for William Byron, so probably helping that young driver get some valuable experience here this weekend.
Yeah, Chad and Jimmy got their first win here as a crew chief driver. It would not surprise me if Chad didn't get his first win here with that young man, William Byron, behind the wheel.
9 laps in California, in addition to Motley Crue being the Grand Marshals, they played Kickstart My Heart in the grandstand as the cars came to the green flag.
Lanes between, he's still.
Monster Energy, official sponsor of NASCAR. The Monster Energy NASCAR Cup Series Auto Club 400 is sponsored by Monster Energy, official sponsor of NASCAR. New leader is Kyle Busch going off into turn number 3. He took the lead from teammate Denny Hamlin, putting the Gibbs Toyotas 1-2 with Eric Almirola third in his Ford. Austin Dillon the first Chevy in fourth, and Ricky Stenhouse the top 5 at 13 laps.
Boy, Mike, that clean air makes such a difference. You saw that 18 car down the back straightaway. He gapped the 11 a little bit. He gets out front, gets all that clean air. He can go somewhere.
Teammates battling for 6th.
Yeah, Joey Logano using that side draft. He gets up there to the quarter panel of his teammate Ryan Blaney in the 12. Is able to stall him out and make that pass all by himself.
All right, let's go back a few laps and watch Austin Dillon and Ricky Stenhouse side by side in that green car.
Yeah,
it is St. Patrick's Day. Kyle Busch takes advantage.
Absolutely. You can see the 3 and the 17 side by side. They stall out, and that opens up the door for the 18 of Kyle Busch to take advantage of those two, get the momentum, use the draft, and go 3 wide and pass both of them.
Larry Mack?
And Jeff, let's use our Ford Aero tracks and we can show you exactly what's going on. Remember, these cars have a big 8-inch spoiler on the rear of these cars, and that really affects the drag. Now you see the second car pull up there to the car, and that represents the 17 and the 3. See how the rear spoilers turn red, and it really puts a lot of drag on those two cars there, and that allowed that car right there, which represents Kyle Busch, just to go by him because those two cars stall each other out, dumping air on those rear spoilers and hurting the straightaway speed.
So from 4th on the grid, Kyle Busch, now your leader. Denny Hamlin from 6th is 2nd. Eric Almirola right where he started in 3rd, and pole sitter Austin Dillon in 4th.
Well, we knew Kyle Busch would be a factor today. No doubt about that. He was fast in practice. He's been on a roll. He's coming off of a win last week and highly motivated to get that win today.
One thing I noticed about the 18, he is up against the wall in 1 and 2, a much higher line. You watch the 11. 11's about a lane maybe down, and that's where Kyle really gaps him off turn 2 over there. And that's what's made the difference. The 11 car runs a little lower in 3 and 4. That seems to help him. But in 1 and 2, that 18 car has got that. He's got that figured out. He gets a big run off turn 2.
And you'll watch, Kyle Busch will really navigate. We talked about the seams. He'll run between those seams and find a perfect place where to cross over. Right there on the entry, you see his crosses over that seam, gets between the lanes, or between those seams in one lane, and then on the exit of that corner finds the perfect place to cross over so it doesn't upset the tires in the grip.
Yeah, you can see Kyle in the car. You see him, his body move up and down, up and down. It's pretty rough getting down the back straightaway and into turn 3, but turns 1 and 2 up high where Kyle's running now, it's pretty good, as long as you got to watch out for those seams though.
You can see Joey Logano, he's choosing that very top lane above that final seam, and the 17 of Ricky Stenhouse Jr. behind him is getting a nice draft down the straightaway, getting right to his rear bumper, but he's got to find that clean air in a different lane as he gets to the corner.
A story of two comers and goers. Kevin Harvick from 2nd is back to 11th, just in front of Martin Truex in the 19, who has come from 27th to 12th. He's the biggest mover. Kurt Busch, right with him, has come from 21st to 13th.
Talked to Martin down there on the pit road when he got out of the pace truck. I said, how are you going to be? He said, we're either going to be zeros or heroes. We threw everything we had at it. It's either going to be really good or not so good, but it looks like it's going to be pretty good.
Which is it, Matt?
He's coming, and if you look at the 19 car trying to work the bottom, they really have done a great job this year recovering from bad Fridays and having a solid performance. Right now, he's tight down in the center of 1 and 2 when he tries to roll through the center, and then it jumps free on exit. But overall, he's very pleased with that 19 car early on.
And he's going by somebody that's not been pleased from the start, from the drop of the green. Kevin Harvick on that outside. Doesn't look like that car has tightened up any on him, so look for some big adjustments from Rodney Childers on the first pit stop.
Yeah, after failing to lead a lap at his favorite track, Phoenix, Kevin Harvick has dropped 10 spots since the start of this one after 19 laps. Kyle Busch, your leader over teammate Denny Hamlin.
turn right now.
It's here and it's available today at your local Chevy dealer. The all-new Silverado. The strongest, most advanced Silverado ever. 23 of 200 laps complete. 23 of 60 in stage number 1. Kyle Busch out front by 2 seconds.
Now we've already shown an animation about when 2 cars stall out. Here's a perfect example. You see the 41 of Suarez get side by side with the 12, and the 19 of Martin Truex Jr. does a great job recognizing that and taking advantage. Look at this big run. Such a big hole being punched in the air by both of those spoilers of the 2 cars ahead of them. Huge acceleration.
And Truex jumps from 11th to 9th place.
And on the move.
Yes,
I mean, that car really looks good. He looks as good as Kyle Busch. Got to catch him, but he looks pretty good.
And even though the rules are different this year, that's a winning car from last year. I wonder how much of that carries over. Larry, what do you think, crew chief?
Well, remember, the fuel window is about 42 to 46 laps, but it's not about a fuel window here. It's about a tire window. I'm seeing already 2 seconds of give up. This first stage being 60 laps, I think we're real close to seeing green flag stops. Last year, our first caution didn't happen to lap 39. Truex, who won that first stage and won the race, he came at lap 27 for his green flag stop. We're close to that window now, guys.
Well, already we've watched Harvick and Blaney drop out of the top 10. 4 lead changes through the first 20 laps. That is a record for Auto Club Speedway. Jamie?
Some different strategy calls here, splitting this stage. 26 laps in, we have some cars that want to come down pit road. The 14 on the wall and ready to come, but Boyer has his hands full. He knew he would, but he's trying so hard not to start yelling this early in. He said, we're going to be fine, and then he yells that they just don't have speed, especially on the straightaways.
Boyer restraining himself. That's interesting.
He's now 8th, and Blaney, we said he fell out of the top 10. He's now come to pit road. At lap 26, Jamie.
Yes, and as I mentioned this, some were going to split it up here, and Blaney one of them, just a little bit tight, especially through the corners. Air pressure adjustment, a track bar adjustment, 4 tires. These guys have 10 sets of tires in the pits, and they want to use them all.
Like the problem with Blaney pitting now, he wasn't in touch with the leader. He's going to go a lap down here because he was so far back. That's something I'd have to think about if I was going to make a pit stop.
Kevin Harvick coming. Daniel Suarez just in front of him. Ricky Stenhouse is also in. Here comes Kyle Larson and Brad Keselowski, who has not gotten up out of the top 15 today.
No, we are just surprising Keselowski. He had a great car in practice. We thought he'd be a factor today. So far, not so good.
Right now, our leader, Kyle Busch, he's loving this. All these cars coming to pit road. Vince, you got the 4?
Yeah, Kevin Harvick, of course, documented how he fell out from the start of the race, just way too loose. It's going to be a 4-tire change, going to put a little tape on the front end. Also a chassis adjustment for the Ford Harvick. He said after about 20 laps, the looseness went away, but it was just too much at the beginning.
Austin Dillon now with Jimmy Johnson on pit road. Logano, Truex, Kurt Busch, Menard, Hemrick, and more. Matt.
And Tanner Andrews, Calvin Teague changing the right side tires, already coming around to the left side. Jimmy Johnson's car pretty solid. His only complaint, it was a little bit snug from the center of the corner on exit. Vince on the 3.
And our pole winner, Austin Dillon, there on the right-hand side of your screen. A little free in 1 and 2, good in 3 and 4. Made a track bar adjustment and air pressure as well.
Chase Elliott in this time, along with Denny Hamlin and Eric Almirola.
Mike, I just look at the lap time, 42.40 on Kyle Busch leading. Next closest guy to him was 43.80.
Wow. Matt?
Mike, Josh Shiplett's already put the wrench in the back window, made the adjustment on Denny Hamlin's number 11 car. The car was tight on exit, especially over there off turn 2. He's away. Meanwhile, the 10 of Eric Almirola in, work being completed on the left side. He just told his team that I cannot be any looser. It's a handful.
Eric Jones, Matt DiBenedetto, Ryan Preece, Ty Dillon in the pit lane.
And you know what I was going to say is that Kyle Busch is loving this right now because he has a lot of these cars a lap down. As this run goes on, those fresher tires are going to start eating into his lead, so he can only stay out there for so long.
There are 8 lead lap cars that have not yet pitted.
There are, Mike, but I can't tell you how impressed I am with the lap times of that 18 car at this point in the run. 42.30 last time by, 43.18 for second.
You want to bring him in?
No, I wouldn't, but I think he's coming.
Okay.
I'd stay out there, but he's coming.
Now, when Denny Hamlin pitted out of second, Kyle had a 2.2 second lead on him. This will turn the lead over to William Byron. Matt?
Great run so far by the 18 of Kyle Busch. You can see easy into his pit box. No chassis adjustments on the 18. Solid on the right side. Cam Waugh and Jeff Cordero going to work on the left. Lugs on and he's away.
Great stop and a great that crew gets it done every week.
So hoping for a caution and still on track, William Byron, Michael McDowell, Corey LaJoie, Matt Tifft, David Reagan, Landon Castle, and Ross Chastain.
Hey, my man Chad Canals, he's got his guy leading right now. And remember, he got Jimmy Johnson his first win here. It's been a long time ago, but I know Chad would think it was a really cool deal if he could get William Byron his first win here.
Well, tell us what Chad Canals is thinking up there on that box with this pit strategy for William Byron.
He's thinking, I'm loving this.
Byron has now led the most laps of all 4 Hendrick cars in 2019.
Look at that. Look at Chad. They're just sitting there like a straight face, not worrying about anything.
And a lot of those laps led have come from pit strategy by keeping William Byron out there on the track to lead those laps. You see some debris right there on the front of Michael McDowell's car. This track is notorious for hot dog wrappers and everything else.
Larry?
You know, one thing you do gain by staying out at a track like this, if the caution comes now, all of those drivers that just made green flag pit stops, they're coming again. Because if you've run over about 3 or 4 laps here and the caution comes, it's 4 more tires. So there is an upside to staying out there and continuing to run.
You can see now Kyle Busch has that grip in these new fresh tires. Now he can go back down to the bottom, hug that white line, maybe even use the apron a little bit down in turns 3 and 4. Runs a lot of throttle as he goes by Michael McDowell.
And that's second place. So just William Byron out in front of Kyle Busch now. Byron, McDowell, LaJoie, Tifft, Reagan, and Landon Castle have not yet pitted. We're going to use our Fox Ghost car to show William Byron on worn tires, who is coming this time. But here is the difference between new and old tires. Denny Hamlin. And in the corner, that's where the difference is.
Wow. That's just all grip, Mike. So much grip in it when you put those new tires on.
William Byron and B.J. McLeod in the pit lane. Jamie.
And Chad Canals left his driver out there just hoping for a caution. Maybe luck would go their way, but not so much. The car was really tight. They've made a lot of progress throughout the weekend. They had high hopes for today. Car just tight, though. No big deal. Oh, and he stalls it on the exit. They got to push him. William Byron, and he's off.
So Kyle Busch back in the lead. And in the pit stop sequence, Kyle Busch gains 1.2 seconds on Denny Hamlin.
He's the man.
The NASCAR Cup Series Auto Club 400 is sponsored by Coca-Cola. Introducing Orange Vanilla Coke. Yeah, you heard that right. 38 of 200 laps complete at Auto Club Speedway. Let's have a look at how the Coca-Cola family of drivers are faring. With Denny Hamlin in second, 4 seconds back of the lead. Joey Logano, Austin Dillon in the top 5. Daniel Suarez in the top 10. Then Larson, Newman, and Wallace. 6th place, Jimmy Johnson, Martin Truex.
Truex on the move. He just keeps coming forward up to 6th place.
Well, California dreaming, not so for Clint Boyer. What kind of nightmare is he having, Jamie?
Well, things may have just turned worse. He's trying to stay positive, but this is what he just reported on the radio.
Keep riding out here when the stage ends. We'll take a look at it, see if there's anything we can do. Yeah, it's starting to smell. Probably won't be long.
Yeah, definitely not a good sign. When you feel it down on power and you're starting to smell oil burning, it's usually just a matter of time.
We have had very few engine failures among top teams this year.
And you know, I'm a little surprised because especially as we come here to this 2-mile track here at Auto Club, I mean, long straightaways, so much on throttle time, you would think that it would be pretty hard on that drivetrain.
Well, that is,
sorry, on the valve train.
On the valve train, but you have to think, I mean, we're way down 550 horsepower. So that's way down on what max power has been, up 750, 800. So can't be turning the RPM they were turning. So something freak must have happened to that engine.
Leader Kyle Busch up 3.5. You know, we still have one driver who has not made a pit stop. Michael McDowell in 14th place, trying to run out this load of fuel and tires and stay on the lead lap. Just passed by Kurt Busch, but he's 21 seconds off the lead, and here comes some of those fresh tire cars after him.
I was going to say he's about 3.5 seconds down on speed each one of these laps.
But we did give him some love, I will say that.
Kyle Larson up through the middle there. One of those California boys coming on.
We've not talked a lot about Kyle Larson. I mean, I really felt like this is a track where he shines, and I think it just goes to show you, you know, those Chevys have been still struggling even in 2019, and including the 42 of Larson, even though he's led some laps this year. Vince, you have more on the 42?
Yeah, and you know, I talked with crew chief Chad Johnston this morning, and he said even though our speed on the charts and on the best 10-lap average in happy hour wasn't great, Kyle was actually pretty happy with the car yesterday, and they felt like they were going to be solid today. They weren't going to have to make a lot of changes. He does, as you said, race well here, so we're a long way from the finish. Obviously, it'll be interesting to see if Larson does end up becoming a player for the win, but they really weren't as alarmed as you thought they might be when you looked at the speed chart from yesterday's practice.
And to me, when I look at the talent of Larson, he loves a high horsepower car that he can really use the throttle to control that slide through the corners. That's not exactly what this package is.
See what this car looks like. He may have had something happen here. What did you see, Mike? Did you see?
Well, he moved up 7 spots in the pit stop cycle, but did he brush the wall? Oh, yeah.
Yes.
Right rear.
Oh, yeah.
I think he lost a little bit of his downforce from the cars at the 17, maybe Stenhouse ahead of him, where he lost some downforce and got into the wall.
43 laps complete. Stage 1 is 60 laps. 13 laps to go in stage one. Two-division champion Lamont Peterson takes on former 140-pound champ Sergey Lipinets in a headlining 12-round welterweight showdown next Sunday, 6 p.m. Eastern, 3 Pacific, only on FS1 and the Fox Sports app. Let's have a look at today's Ford Performance Track Facts. Matt Kenseth, who's going to do some short track racing this year, we saw on social media yesterday. He has the most wins here by a Ford driver with 3, and came from 31st to do it back in the spring race in 2006.
I think if you look at worst starting position at almost any racetrack we go to, Matt Kenseth's name always pops up.
I would also say, if you look at a common thread here at this racetrack, it takes some of the most talented drivers to get it done here. These are big, long corners with very little grip, so some of the best have gotten it done here.
12th place. Stenhouse going after Keselowski, and we see damage on both the right front and right rear fenders of the number 2. One of the most heavily favored cars here today.
And Mike, you saw the one car of Kurt Busch back there, how loose he was coming off the corner, back of that car stepping out. I think that may be what a lot of these guys are struggling with. Keselowski maybe goes loose and got it in the fence. I think I've seen that with a number of cars. They look real, real loose. And it's hotter today, Mike. It hadn't been this hot. There's no wind blowing. This is a totally different racetrack than what these guys have seen for 2 days.
11 laps to go in stage one. Kyle Busch holding a 2.5-second lead.
You making time on me?
Oh yeah, he's got it down from 3.5 to about just under 2.
First I've heard of it.
That's Kyle Busch, knowing his surroundings. He's looking in his mirror. He knows that Denny Hamlin, his teammate, is making some good lap times behind him.
Well, Matt, that gap now seems to have stabilized at 2.5 seconds.
And he was about a tenth to a tenth and a half faster the last few laps, and Hamlin has caught the 6. Hamlin's car, such a great long-run car. He says the change they made on that last stop, better overall, but it's still a little bit too tight on entry. They'll adjust that, fine-tune at the end of the stage.
Turn 4, car up in the wall, coming to pit road, or did he just slow to get an entry to pit road without impeding traffic? That was the case.
Left front tire looks down.
Ty Dillon.
Something having that car, Mike. He went up high and then came on pit road.
You'll see it all as we go side by side, closing in on the end of stage one. 1:06 to go in stage number 1. Kyle Busch leading Denny Hamlin, who's closed it down to 1.8 seconds. Now we saw Ty Dillon. He cut a tire, drifted up near the wall, waiting for a gap to get down on pit road. Apparently he did not hit the wall, but there he is right in front of the leader. Whoa!
Wow. Just when everything is going along perfect and smooth, something like that happens.
Well, pretty good timing. We are coming into the first stage, so.
And there was no caution. Now, the first driver to pit in that green flag cycle, Austin Dillon's day may be done, and it may have nothing to do with him feeling ill this morning.
Caution is out. Just try to stay with what you got here.
What a great run.
He was having a great run.
Top 5.
Yeah, he doesn't feel well. He's been hanging in the top 5, running a great race. Car looked pretty good. Darn the bad luck.
Coming down the front straightaway.
But luckily for Martin Truex Jr., the 3 of Austin Dillon felt something going wrong, I'm assuming in the engine. Pulls down, allowing the 19 of Truex to go smoothly to the outside.
Mike, what gets these engines here is that sustained RPM. From the middle of turn 4 to down into turn 1, you're in the throttle. The engine gets up to a certain RPM and it just hangs there. And it just goes through these incredible harmonics. That looks like a tire.
I don't think that's an engine issue.
Could be.
I think he tagged the wall and cut that tire down. That's what the smoke was from.
But that sustained RPM is very hard on these engines at any RPM range.
Well, he is under power coming down the pit road. He has the far pit. Had first choice of pits, being the pole sitter for today's race. Not an engine. So let's see what happens here with the number 3. We are under caution for the first time today. Vince?
Yeah, Austin Dillon, it is just the right rear. It's not an engine issue, but they are going to give particular attention to that right rear, and also you see the right front pulling out the fender there. Austin Dillon, by the way, who we noted before the race began, was ill and had to take a couple of bags of IVs this morning, has not said anything about not feeling well, Mike.
And the leader will pit with just 4 laps to go in stage 1, and a whole bunch coming with him.
Not the 11 of Denny Hamlin. He stays out.
You know what?
Matt?
And the 11, Denny Hamlin, stayed on the track. Meanwhile, the 10 of Eric Almirola, his car way on the free side. He says, you are certainly going to have to tighten me up on this stop. It was the same complaint he had the first run today. Meanwhile, Kyle Busch, he's on the free side as well. Just absolutely no grip on exit Vince.
No, it's going to be 4 tires and fuel. Logano says he needs to be a little bit freer to start, but then the car builds tight as the run goes.
So NASCAR says they will go back to green before stage end. Larry, can you explain this strategy to us?
Well, we only go back racing for 1 lap. He has 26 laps on his tires. He absolutely will get run over.
Yeah, to me, this is a move by Chris Gabehart to hope that they weren't going to go back to green so he could get those stage points and those playoff points that are also out there for grabs if you win this stage. But it doesn't look like that's going to be the case. He's going to be going backwards in a hurry.
So Hamlin, Stenhouse, and Boyer are the lead lap drivers who did not pit. And Clint Boyer, who says he only has 7 cylinders, is going to be right up front should we restart.
Well, and I don't think he really has a choice. They're having some issues. If it doesn't go back green, then he gains some valuable points that he otherwise would not have gotten.
And I think they feel like maybe they can get in and check it, and maybe it's got a plug wire off or something.
The signal is 1 to go. Jamie?
DW, that's exactly what Clint Boyer said. It may be a plug wire, guys. We're not sure, but exactly what you were saying, Jeff. They wanted to stay out. Let's get some valuable stage points just in case we lose that engine today. We'll have something to show for our efforts today.
Lap down cars pitting now as the field gets 1 to go. Ricky Stenhouse out there with Denny Hamlin. They'll restart on the front row. Here's Stenhouse.
You use too much brakes. Let's see what you can do using less brakes here to the end. That's what happens when I don't use brakes. Copy. Gives them data to look at, so that's fine. I don't care what the data says. I drive the car the best it can go, and I know how to do that. So don't question what I'm doing.
Woo!
I like that.
Well,
don't care what the data says.
Listen, I love when the engineers get involved and they talk about data and all. That's great. But the computer's not driving this car. A human is.
That's right.
And you know, you've hired that race car driver to do that job. And sometimes, especially in the heat of the moment in the race, you got to let them go do that.
Chris Buescher gets the free pass on this, the first caution of the day, for a cut tire for Austin Dillon. Packed infield. And a great grandstand crowd here as we look at aerial coverage from Goodyear. Everything we learn making tires for the grueling demands of NASCAR inspires what we roll into yours. Goodyear, official tire of NASCAR.
Well, this ought to be fun.
I think the biggest challenge right here is going to be Kyle Busch with Joey Logano behind him. And you know how good Joey is and Kyle is on these restarts. And maybe trying to avoid those guys spinning tires on the front row.
That's going to be a problem for them, but I'll tell you that 18 will be up against that wall going somewhere.
23 cars on the lead lap. Brad Keselowski made a long stop to address that body damage on the right side. But here we go. Approaching the Geico restart zone. It'll be one lap to go in stage one. Hamlin, Stenhouse, front row.
You're clear by one to both lanes, 2270, 18 hard. One back, he's uncovered. One back, half back. Coming right to your bumper. Inside, 22 is going to go with him. Inside 22, three back.
Whoa, trouble.
Crash, turn two.
Big trouble.
Ricky Stenhouse.
Oh, that's not going to make his day any better than the one he was having right there before that restart.
Caution waves, and we will finish stage one under yellow.
Well, that worked out actually pretty well for Denny Hamlin.
See the 17 right here in the kind of the middle.
Stuck in the middle with you.
Oh, baby.
4 wide behind him.
He just gets a little loose. Probably got the right sides on that seam. Collects the 20 of Eric Jones. That turns him around. And a little damage to the left front of the 24 William Byron as he collected the 17 slightly.
Riding with Alex Bowman.
Still middle three. Still three, watch it spin, check up right in front of you, get down, inside, you're good. All in, still middle three. Caution's out.
Boy, for what that could have been, everybody got through there pretty lucky.
One right on the inside corner, clear. This is U19 pulling back. Keep digging.
A little damage there to the back of the 19 of Truex.
And the 42 of Larson. You see Larson, the 42, up against the wall with significant damage. He's already come to pit road.
Here's where the damage comes to the left front of the 24 of William Byron. He just nicks the rear bumper of the 17. Now watch, he goes up, I think makes a little bit of contact with the 6 of Ryan Newman.
Stenhouse is in, as is Larson. Stage one ends. Kyle Busch ahead of Joey Logano, Denny Hamlin, Kevin Harvick, and Daniel Suarez.
Well, as we went to break, we were analyzing the 24 of William Byron and the damage that maybe he had by making contact with 17 of Ricky Stenhouse Jr. But after looking at it closer, what an amazing job. First, he misses the rear bumper of the 17 of Ricky Stenhouse Jr. Then he goes up. It looks like he slides up and maybe makes some contact with the 6 of Ryan Newman, but not so. Amazing driving by William Byron to miss collecting any damage.
So there are cars that were involved and got some damage in that crash at lap 60 as we ended stage 1.
I believe that 19 car may have quite a bit of right rear damage. It looked like the 42 maybe ran into the back of him.
And we have seen how critical that area of the car is for grip, for downforce in the corners. So that's an area that they're going to want to work on and really get it back to where it was if possible.
Vince?
Well, in our pole winner, Austin Dillon still in on pit lane. He had that right rear go down, and the rubber actually from that right rear wrapped around the rear housing. So they had to come in and address that issue. But all in all, from a body standpoint, they don't think it's as bad as what initially they may have anticipated. So Austin Dillon, the pole sitter, off and away.
Thanks, Vince. Pit road remains closed. Kyle Busch, your stage 1 winner.
A lot of damage.
There's the damage on 9th place, Martin Truex. Here at Auto Club Speedway, Monster Energy brought the action. Rodrigo Ampudia and his traveling smoke show team hit the pavement out in the fan zone. Made a lot of noise, destroyed a few tires, and thrilled the fans.
Got to give a lot of credit to Monster for the great action that they give these fans as they're coming into this racetrack.
So 22 lead lap cars, 3 of which now, Clint Boyer, Ricky Stenhouse, and Kyle Larson pitted before the pits were open, so they'll be restarting out back. Add Austin Dillon to that list.
Well, we certainly know the 11 of Denny Hamlin's going to come, and those that stayed out. But what do you do if you're the 18 or the 22?
Yeah, guys, if you're up there near the front, we only run a half a lap. Maybe if you're back outside the top 10, you maybe come. Jamie.
All right, so the plan for Clint Boyer, he already came in once. You saw them looking under the hood. They're going to bring him down this time. He has to shut it off. Tony Stewart, his boss man, was just in on the plan. They're going to change out a spark plug and a wire and see if that helps their issues here. So struggles continue for the 14 out west here, guys.
All right, pit road is open. A couple of the Gibbs cars, 3 of the Gibbs cars leading the charge there. Denny Hamlin, Eric Jones, Martin Truex with a bit of damage, Kurt Busch in. Matt?
Staying out for those valuable playoff points. Another adjustment for Denny Hamlin. You can see the wrench in the back window. He said that the handling is about 50% better this run, but he still needs some more fine tuning on this Toyota.
On a 2-mile speedway where aerodynamics are very important, that is a mess on the right rear of Martin Truex's car.
And that's a critical area, Mike. I mean, that behind that right rear tire is very critical.
And he won everything here 1 year ago. Ryan Preece gets the free pass. Let's go back out front to our leader.
Yeah, things on pit road aren't going well for these guys, but the guy that things are going well with, let's dial him up, Kyle Busch. Hey, Kyle Busch, this is Jeff, the guys up in the Fox Sports booth. You got me?
Yes, sir. How's it going?
Going pretty good. Going real well for you. There's a lot of action out there, but looks like things are going pretty smooth for you. I am curious. Some guys really struggling with the track conditions and handling today. Things seem to be going well for you. How are you finding it?
It's definitely different than what it was yesterday, so I think maybe that kind of threw a few guys for a loop. Our car was pretty well balanced yesterday. Feels pretty good today. So overall, the Interstate Batteries Camry feels good. So, you know, I think we had this conversation last week, but it'd be nice to keep the view the way it is and race this thing out and see what happens at the end.
Well, we all know what the results were last week, so might be the same today, but 2 more stages to go. Good luck. Thanks for talking to us.
You got it. Thanks.
Kyle Busch is your leader at the end of stage 1. Auto Club Speedway, built on reclaimed land. This was a former steel plant. They built Liberty ships here for World War II. So the substrate underneath the asphalt here is very, very bumpy. We've seen it today, and fortunately we have some great historic footage to show you of this backstretch in earlier days at Auto Club Speedway.
Boy, how technology is advanced in the suspension of these cars today.
Actually, I believe that's Foothill Boulevard laying out Route 66 back in the day.
Oh my gosh.
Here's what it looks like from Daniel Suarez's point of view.
Oh, this is the smooth front straightaway section. Oh, man.
As we get ready to begin stage 2, let's have a check with Shannon Spake and the fellas in the studio.
Hey there, guys. Jamie, is that what it felt like on the racetrack? You were in this race last year.
Yeah, this track has bumps all the way around it, but the bumps on the entry to turn 3 look just like what we saw in that video.
So none of us in the pre-race show picked Kyle Busch to win this race. Are you surprised at what we've seen so far?
No, I'm not surprised. I expected that he would contend, but I thought the abrasive racetrack might get the best of him. Yesterday, he had to rally back from a delayed pit stop. Today, he's setting sail and he's setting the pace.
Yes, he is. Currently led the most laps. Mike, back to you.
Thanks, Shannon. 67 complete. Kyle Busch, Joey Logano will be on the front row for this restart. Busch has elected the outside with his Toyota. Logano's Ford to the inside. Harvick and Almirola, 2 Fords in row 2. Then Suarez, the first Chevrolet. and having a good run here today. Jimmy Johnson, this track's all-time winner. He holds all the records here. Had a nice rebound last week at Phoenix with his number 48, and challenging for a top 5 spot here.
Kind of interested to see how that 4-car fares. They were real loose. Maybe they got him tightened up. If they knew, he could be a factor.
Yeah, pretty impressive to see him back up into that top 4.
Yep.
Ready to restart.
Ready. Green. Hold.
Forward, a couple feet off. Get that middle protected here.
Half back to 41.
Here comes that 4. He's with you. He's trying to protect the middle from the 41.
Right now.
18's a lane off. He kind of chases down a little bit. Half a lane up.
2 by 2.
One back, a lane higher. Half back, a lane higher. Half. You're clear. You can look.
Side to right rear.
Back inside there.
Watch the middle.
18.
Rush hour.
Slow him down. Coming to you in your mirror on the high side. 1 back on the high side. Still clear by 1, all lanes. Clear by 1 to the bottom of the 48. 2
still 2. 1 to 12. Nothing behind the 12. Get up there if you need to. Coming inside.
Mike, 70 feet wide, and they still got to use the apron. So there's just anything that's paved that you're going to race on.
Well, I realize that besides the driver's arms and hands working today, those spotters are working so hard today.
You watch Kyle Busch, he'll try to get a little draft off of the 22 at Logano, but Logano's car is looking pretty steamy off turn 2 over there.
He's got that short run speed that we talked about. And you know, I think a lot of these teams, as Amarola goes to second, going by Kyle Busch. We saw Kyle fade a little bit on the initial start and then came back. He does have that long run speed. I'm curious to see what these adjustments of these others are going to do for them.
Eric Jones is on the move. He's the first car with new tires that he took at the end of the stage. Jones restarted 11th up to 8th, was side by side a moment ago, just jumped in line. Daniel Hemrick, who got the final stage point in stage 1. Watch his number 8, top of the screen. Ooh, a little kiss, more than a kiss.
And I think some of the air moving off that one car, Kurt Busch may have had a little bit to do with that, but he was just, it looked like he was real tight coming off that bottom of the racetrack, trying to stay wide open, and ran out of grip.
That was from our Liberty National onboard cam. That was a kiss and a slap in quick succession. Vince.
Well, Joey Logano in that 22 trying to hold off Kyle Busch right now for the lead as they go side by side. And Joey said, I need to be freer on the restarts because I got swallowed up last time. That was the adjustment they made. You can see he's slipped back to second behind Kyle, but they definitely feel like they got a better restart than the time before.
Wow, Almirola had a big swerve coming off turn number 2, and something flew out to the right. Might have just been a piece of debris flying around out there, but it was kind of an odd move as he went up to the top side, and Daniel Hemrick has had to come to pit road to repair that body damage as we watch this battle for 4th place.
Well, Harvick's looking a little racier. He looks like he's more comfortable, more confident in the race car, so some good adjustments there on that pit stop.
Back for the lead.
That 18 car, Mike, after about 5 or 6 laps, seems like he just gets a little bit better than the other guys. You heard Joey say he was a little tight. They loosened him up a little bit, but I don't think that was enough.
And look right behind him, his teammate Ryan Blaney. So obviously some adjustments for these guys. The 18 of Kyle Busch probably didn't need a whole lot of adjustments. His car was really good. I look for these guys, the 22, the 12, some of these others, a few more adjustments. They might be right there with that 18 car.
Ryan Blaney has moved up 5 spots since the restart, Jamie.
And they were really happy with the progress they made throughout practice and confident coming into this race. And they have, you guys. They've been making adjustments, primarily air pressure. The last stop, right rear air pressure. He said the front end was a little bit more positive, but definitely turning better for the 12. Matt?
And what an impressive run by Jimmy Johnson in the 48, currently up to 6th. One of his most productive racetracks, trying for a 7th win. Jimmy said that the car was a little too free after they made that air pressure adjustment, Vince. On the last stop, they reversed that. The 20's down on the apron.
Well, in that 4 car of Kevin Harvick, we saw him drop from the front row all the way back outside the top 10 at the start of the race. Was way too loose. They made a track bar adjustment on that first stop, and since then it has been really good. In fact, the
There's the lead. Kyle Busch to Joey Logano, 2.6 seconds. And now it's starting to grow a little bit.
I think right now the two of Brad Keselowski's probably the best car other than Kyle Busch. If he can get clear of his teammate Joey Logano, I'd like to see what he could do in some clean air.
Well, doesn't it make you feel good? Because, I mean, Keselowski was a guy we thought would be a real factor today, have a shot at winning this race. He struggled early on, but now they've recovered and making a nice move toward the front here. I think you're right, Jeff. I think he could challenge 18 if he can get up there.
Now we saw that damage on the left side of Eric Jones' car in 5th place. Thinking back to where he got it, and this is it. See the number 20, middle of your screen?
Yeah, watch the
17.
Yeah, the 17 of Stenhouse gets loose here, comes up, makes that contact right in front of that left rear. I think that actually helped the 20. He's been going a lot faster since then.
It narrowed it up a little bit.
Kyle Busch, your leader. Joey Logano now 3 back. The first Ford, the first Chevrolet is Kurt Busch in 8th.
Now.
The Monster Energy NASCAR Cup Series Auto Club 400 is sponsored by the Ford Hall of Fans. Are you NASCAR's biggest fan? Go to Ford.com/NASCAR. And by Credit One Bank, the official credit card of NASCAR, perfect for race fans. Green flag pit stops. Let's begin with Matt.
Water bottle and a fresh tear off for Denny Hamlin. The car much better, especially down in 3 and 4. Still needs some help down cutting the corner in 1 and 2, Vince.
Wrench is in the window in the left rear. There's the adjustment right there. 4 tires for Kevin Harvick, just a little tight off turn 2.
Denny Hamlin exiting has never really recovered from pitting at lap 57, finishing 4th in the stage, or rather, Vince?
The two of Brad Keselowski, and you saw him make a move and get by his teammate Joey Logano, so you can understand when Brad was asked how the car is, and he said, can't you tell? It's a lot better. 4 tires, no changes. Matt?
Kevin Mendering called the Ford 8 at Johnson to pit road. He didn't really want any big adjustments. Said the car is pretty decent. I just don't know why I'm not making up more room on the racetrack. The 10 is away as well. Vince?
The 22 of Joey Logano taking off just too tight, as we reported earlier. 4 tires and up a couple of rounds on the track bar.
So who has not stopped? Kyle Busch and Matt DiBenedetto.
No, but you just heard Adam Stevens say to Kyle Busch, bring it to me. I think he knows that Brad Keselowski just came in. So did the 22 of Logano. He can't stay out there too long before those new tires eat into his lead.
Boy, you got to be impressed with the job they've done on that 2 car to get it turned around, because he was struggling to start this race, but now he's maybe the fastest car on the racetrack.
.55 miles an hour, plus a 4.99 mile per hour tolerance. As Kyle Busch brings it in. Matt?
He's racing for history, pulls it into the box, anchored by the veteran of this over-the-wall group, TJ Ford. Been with this group for many years, already around the left side. Kyle said the car basically could use a little bit more rear grip, especially for corner exit, but not bad at all. He's away.
Now, Matt DiBenedetto would have taken the lead, but the California driver comes in. 2 of his crewmen and his sponsor are also from California. So Kyle Busch comes out down in turn number 1. Keselowski at the start-finish line now.
It's so much harder to tell this year because momentum and getting up to speed coming off of pit road, so much different this year. But to me, it looks like another excellent job getting on pit road, in the pit box, and off for the 18.
Yeah, if I had to bet, I'd bet he made up time. The 18 did, because he's the best at getting on and off pit road, and that crew is on it, man.
To your point, Darrell, before pit stops, Kyle had a 3.4 second lead on Brad Keselowski. It's now 4 seconds.
Yeah, he's got a knack. He's just got that racing sense about him. He knows exactly where he is, what he needs to do, and how he needs to do it, and then he executes. That's what I like.
Bubba Wallace will be making a pass through. Too fast exiting for the Richard Petty Motorsports, number 43.
But Mike, I got to just say, people always are, giving us a hard time about talking about Kyle Busch and how great he is. But listen, I've been doing this for a long time. I've been in this sport for 60 years, and I've never seen anybody can get away and do with the things that he can do with his race car and make it look pretty darn easy.
I agree, Darrell, and we'll talk more about that as the afternoon goes on. But first, here's Larry with today's Driving Trust, sponsored by Duracell.
Yeah, Mike, 2019 is Kyle Busch's 15th full-time season in the Monster Energy NASCAR Cup Series. It's his 12th year to be at Joe Gibbs Racing and his 5th season with crew chief Adam Stevens. Their first year together was 2015, the year Kyle was injured at Daytona in an Xfinity Series race. Remember, he missed the first 11 Cup races. They came back to win 5 races and the championship. Together, Adam and Kyle, they've won 23 Cup races together, including Phoenix last week. And speaking of Duracell Driving Trust, Tony Hirschman, his spotter, this is their 8th season together.
Wow.
And that's what I think made Richard Petty. A lot of the guys that were great back in my era, they were with the same team. They drove the same car number. They had the same crew chief. Jeff, you know this. You were with Rick all those years, Hendrick Motorsports. That consistency, that pays off in the long run.
When you find the right group of people that work well together and have chemistry, and you can keep them together, the results are going to show for it.
And it's not just on track, it's on pit road as well. Here are the fastest pit stops in the last cycle, sponsored by Xfinity. Just
Shocking.
like last week, 12.7 seconds, Kyle Busch. He's going for his 200th win across NASCAR's 3 National Series. It's a very important number to him. I do not feel it should be compared to Richard Petty's 200 wins in the Cup Series. The appropriate number there is 52. That's how many Cup Series wins Kyle has. If you go way back in the day, and it's impossible to compare eras, NASCAR had, since 1950, 3 National Series. What is now Cup, what is now Xfinity, and the Modifieds. There are drivers like Ray Hendrick that have 700 wins across what were then the 3 National Series. But here is Kyle's total, sitting on 199 and about to hit a number that's going to be very important to him and his fans. 98 laps complete, and Kyle holding a 4.8 second lead. Welcome back to the Auto Club 400 on Fox. Kyle Busch leading Brad Keselowski by 4.6 seconds. Ryan Blaney, Eric Jones, Joey Logano, 2 Toyotas, 3 Fords in the top 5. Kurt Busch is the first Chevrolet in 8th place. He's had Chevy's only top 5 finishes so far this year. Jamie?
And Kurt Busch, they've really made some nice adjustments on this car. I talked to his crew chief, Matt McCall, this morning. He said they were going to have to approach today differently than in practice. Well, Kurt backed it up just moments ago and said this car is definitely racier than yesterday. Still a little bit tight, but he said he's still learning and still figuring out where he needs to drive this car with this new aero package, but he's doing a nice job keeping it in the top 10.
Well, you know, Jazzy, Jeff Curtis, he works on that car. And I talked to Cole Pern about Jazzy, and he said that when it came to studying sims and data and all that technical stuff, Jazzy was one of the best he had ever worked with. And there he is, finally.
Put the
is
name
Jeff
with
Curtis,
the face.
who worked with Martin Truex and Cole Pern at Furniture Row Racing last year, and when that team folded, moved over to Chip Ganassi Racing. He's from Fairfax, Virginia. And now you know everything. We know.
Somebody that's probably got to have their hands full right now. This is a car that was driving to the front. I think was going to be a factor, and that's a 19 of Martin Truex Jr. But that damage to the right rear has got to be affecting him big time. Matt?
Certainly not what we saw a year ago, where he swept every stage and walked away with the victory. Bear bond and duct tape has certainly been his friend. A number of stops on pit road to try to seal up the best they can that right rear corner, which they sustained that damage on the restart. He just says that the car is just way too free, continuing to build looser as the run goes on. They're going to try to make more repairs the next time they hit pit road, but I will tell you this, he was not thrilled with some of the cars that were up near the front on that restart. He blames them for ruining his race. In fact, he said, we had the car that could have won. They took it away from us.
Still a long way to go, though. We're just past halfway. And boy, Brad Keselowski's team has turned that car around. He and Paul Wolfe took a car that really struggled at the start of the race, and they have made it a contender.
We're in the clear. Where am I getting beat, Paul? He's a little stronger finishing 2 than we are. I'd say that's my loosest spot. Good to know.
And that's what I've seen about that 18 car all day long. He is strong off turn 2. He runs that high line. He gets a heck of a shot down the back straightaway. I think that's what Keselowski is lacking.
Vince?
Well, they were way loose at the beginning of the race, as you guys noted, and they made a big wedge adjustment on that second pit stop, and the car has been so much better for Keselowski, and they were really encouraged. They were so pleased with where they were with this race car at the end of happy hour yesterday, and they're finally running like what they expected here at this stage of the race. 14 laps to go in stage 2.
Well, they did get in the wall early with both ends of that car. Had to come to pit road and make repairs. But whatever that last adjustment was, Keselowski is one of the 2 or 3 fastest cars on the racetrack. Now, Keselowski and Logano have both won for Team Penske as we look at our Ram built for the playoffs and concentrate on Ryan Blaney. Led the second most laps through 4 races this season. What's he got to do to make sure he makes it to that round of 16?
Well, I think they just need to get the results that match their performance. He's been leading laps. He's been running up front. They've just had little things, whether it be the way the strategy's unfolded or maybe some issue that has kept him from getting not only the top 5s, but also some wins that I feel like were maybe in his grasp.
If he doesn't win, can he point his way in?
Oh, I think he can. They got that kind of car. They got 2 great teams. He's got 2 great teammates to lean on. This kid's going to win. He's going to win a race or 2 this year. I can assure you that. He's almost won last week. Running good today. Things fall in it might fall in his lap, but he's going to win some.
And that's our Built for the Playoffs, sponsored by Ram. Chase Elliott, running 10th, was quicker than Kyle Busch a lap ago, as was Ryan Blaney. And just in front of Elliott is Denny Hamlin. I wonder about that strategy call that they made coming in for tires with 3 laps to go in the stage before the end of stage 1, and it's taken a long time for him to climb back up through.
Yeah, we heard him say he likes what the car is feeling. The balance of the car is better from some of the adjustments, but we didn't see that initially on that restart. I thought those newer tires might help him out, but now that we've gotten into long run, you're really starting to see the speed of the 11.
So one of the things I think helps these guys, they know that they're going to get the break here in a few minutes, and they just get that gap closed back up, and they'll be back in the race.
As you saw, Clint Boyer thought he had a tire going down, came to pit road to get 2. We'll show you what happened as Kyle Busch continues to lead by 5.5. There's a look up in turn 4 as he and Corey LaJoie get together.
I'm surprised it wasn't a left rear tire. Let's see, maybe he gets the wall a little bit.
I'm surprised it wasn't all 4 of them because they make a lot of contact here. Boy, Boyer hung onto that thing, kept it out of the wall.
Boyer's already having a rough day. That's definitely not going to make him any happier than he already was. But I'm just surprised that was a right. He didn't touch the wall. They made pretty heavy contact on the left side. You'd have thought that would have been a left rear.
It might be.
Well, it puts him 2 laps down along with David Reagan. Right now, Ricky Stenhouse is in the free pass position ahead of Ryan Preece and Ryan Newman. Jimmy Johnson has fallen from the top 10 now. He's in 12th place. And here is 6th place from our Jimmy John's onboard camera with Kevin Harvick.
And we've seen where Eric Jones in that 20 car is really fast on the restarts, makes up a lot of spots early in a run. We talk about that short run, long run. He's got the short run speed. Now here comes Kevin Harvick, who seems to now have some long run speed in that number 4 car.
Did you hear how he was working the throttle through the corner there? He was, in and out of it, in and out of it. He was really working that throttle and working hard behind the wheel there.
You rarely see Kevin Harvick completely out of the throttle. He likes to part throttle it into the corner and then back on.
All the way down the straightaway, it's going to be wide open, but it sounded like, I don't know if it was cause a 20 car or what, but listen.
Now see, to me, that's when you have a loose race car, that's how you use that throttle. And we heard him talk about being pretty loose, and you're just putting the throttle down right to the edge of the rear grip. As that car yaws out, he needs to back off that throttle a little bit. As it straightens out, he can start to apply the throttle. Just keep it right there on the edge.
See, I think that's what always made him, or has always made him so great at Atlanta. He's able to use that throttle to his advantage And that's what makes him so good at that racetrack.
Vince?
Well, and that 4 of Kevin Harvick, just as you guys were talking about, getting it to turn and using the throttle to help him, because he says that's really the issue right now. The car's about the same, but it's just not quite turning the way he'd like to. Matt?
And Eric Jones lost that spot to Harvick, currently runs in P7. The car's still on the tight side almost this entire run. His spotter, Rick Corelli, told him the 2 car of Keselowski and also the 18 of Busch, they're running the bottom. You're going to have to try to run the apron or the bottom lane down in 3 and 4 if we're going to try to make any gains on them, because that's where they're picking up so much speed.
Well, somebody that's gaining on Eric Jones as he's trying to run that bottom groove is that 1 car of Kurt Busch right behind him.
3 to go in stage 2. And right now Chase Elliott is in the final stage point position.
Sorry, Mike. That 1 car really stepped out big time right there in the middle of the corner. That car is loose.
Pit road is closed. The current closed. Red light.
2 to go.
Tell you what, you're taking a pretty good beating in that car here, Jeff. You're running these turns as hard as you can.
Oh, Ryan Newman slides right up front of our leader.
That's Ryan. I'm not going 2 laps down. Newman, right there.
Behind you.
His car is
middle of the racetrack of 3 and 4.
You know what that was from Ryan Newman? That was a warning. You're going to go by me.
He's known for keeping that car really wide.
Well, he is one of only 3 cars, as we mentioned, that are 1 lap down. So he wants to maintain that position.
I think,
1 to go in stage 2.
I think Kyle Busch says, you want to stay on that lap? Go ahead. You can have it.
Yeah, Kyle has a 6-second lead to play with.
Yeah, he's not going to push the issue, I can assure you.
So Brad Keselowski's not going to catch him. Listen to him park throttle it around the corner. This is one of these risk versus reward situations here.
Oh,
well,
he saw it just about all go out the window right there.
And Mike, these engines they're 550 horsepower. They don't have a tremendous amount of power like these guys are used to. You got to stay in the throttle.
For the 3rd time in his career, Kyle Busch is going to see that green and white checkered flag twice as he sweeps stages 1 and 2 here. He did it at Charlotte last year in the 600 and in 2017 at the Brickyard. Kyle Busch, your stage 1 and stage 2 winner. The Monster Energy NASCAR Cup Series Auto Club 400 is sponsored by Monster Energy, official sponsor of NASCAR, and by Credit One Bank, the official credit card of NASCAR, perfect for race fans. End of stage 2. Kyle Busch wins both stages. Third time it's happened in his career. When he did it at Charlotte, he went to victory lane. When he did it at Indianapolis, he finished deep in the field in the 30s. So 50% on sweeping the stages and getting the win. Get expert analysis and opinions from the best names in NASCAR as they break it all down inside the car and out on the track. Race Hub, weeknights 6 Eastern on FS1 and the Fox Sports app. My favorite element of Race Hub is Radioactive. On Tuesdays, we get all of the best and not such the best of all the in-car radios on Race Hub. There's our group of onboard cameras today. Kevin Harvick up there in 6th place as we complete stage 2. Daniel Suarez in 11th. Alex Bowman in 17th.
Mike, it's St. Patrick's Day. Do you think it's a coincidence that the green car is dominating the race?
And I think it's the only green car out there, other than maybe a little green on that Monster Energy car. Jimmy Johnson's.
What do you think?
No, I don't think so, because Daniel Hemrick's car is also part
yeah, hasn't
green,
gone his way.
And look what happened to him. The luck of the Irish works in strange ways. My dad always said we were English, Irish, and a fifth of Scotch. Now I get it. Jamie.
Ryan Blaney has many different colors on his car, but he is pretty darn happy with the 12. Said, I don't need much, just a little bit freer. Air pressure out of those fronts. They'll add a little bit of tape and a Ford tire stop, Matt.
Adam Stevens reminded Kyle Busch to go a little bit easier into the box. He slid it in the last few stops. He said that the car needs to be a little bit tighter at the beginning of the run. Air pressure change, and he's away, Vince.
Well, the 2 of Brad Keselowski, it's just too loose, prohibiting him from keeping the throttle down off turn 2. So they're going to make an air pressure adjustment. The 22 of Joey Logano, boy, that stage in came right on time because he said he thinks he had a tire coming apart. So obviously 4 fresh tires for Logano. Kyle Busch, first one off pit road.
19 rolling out kind of slowly, but then again, there's no one behind him, so no rush there for Martin Truex.
Breaking news, 18, first car off pit road.
Well, we've only seen, I think, 1 car that has anything for Kyle Busch at this stage of the race. Hold the phone. Kyle Busch, too fast on pit road, exiting.
Wow. Now, we've seen this before. You know, we saw in Las Vegas where the 18 had to come from behind, but we want to talk to somebody different in this stage, and maybe the guy that has a shot at pulling off this win, especially now. So let's talk to Brad Keselowski. Hey, Brad, this is Jeff and the guys up in the booth. You got a copy?
10-4. How's it going, Jeff?
Well, it's going pretty good. Looks like things are going much better for you now versus the beginning of the race. Some great adjustments to get that number 2 car running as well as you're running. I was going to ask you, what's it going to take to beat Kyle Busch? Right now we're just hearing about a penalty that they're going to have for speeding off pit road. But what is it going to take?
Well, I think if I get in the track position, we're pretty strong. We're able to pass, but I kind of got up a second there and couldn't go no further. So we'll see. Maybe with the track position we can hold it, stay up here the rest of the race, Jeff.
Well, you certainly got the track position, maybe adjustment away, but looking good. Thanks for talking to us. Have a great race.
No problem, Jeff. Thanks for following the Worth Ford Mustang.
So Brad Keselowski will be our race leader, and the Kyle Busch fans react to the speeding penalty. Too fast exiting for Kyle Busch and Denny Hamlin. Brad Keselowski is your leader. 75 laps to go in Southern California. 2 stage-ending cautions, one of which was a continuation of one of the 2 cautions for cause, lap 55 and lap 60. And here we are with 74 to go. Now, here's Kyle Busch on the left of your screen, coming right into the area where he got nabbed for speeding. Right, that area is right there. It ends right about there, right in the middle of the 88 pit box.
Yeah, this pit road, remember, it's in sections. That's section 12.
Time over distance, 55 miles an hour, plus a tolerance. Listen.
You're certainly not going to tell him
no
from the
RPM change
RPM
whatsoever.
And then on the radio.
Plenty of laps left here, man. A lot of the guys on the tail end of the lead lap are hurt. We'll get back up in the top 10 here in a handful of laps, get a couple late cautions, be right back in it. If there's any car and any driver that can get back up there, it's us. Got to pace ourselves. Can't do it with a broke car.
Little pep talk for Kyle Busch, who dominated yesterday's Xfinity race. Had, of course, a different pit crew yesterday. They had a tire violation and ended up finishing second to Cole Custer.
You want to see a show, Mike? You ready to see a show?
Yes,
well, we're getting
do.
ready to see one. You watch that 18.
And Harvick on the restart. Kyle Busch is going to restart. It looks like 17th back there with Denny Hamlin, his teammate.
Yeah, Denny was also speeding.
Yeah, he was speeding in the last section at the very end of pit road. Pace car's in. It'll be 73 laps to go as they approach the Geico restart zone. And turn them loose.
He's off by half. You're still clear. Chase is not. 3/4 off. Still top cover. Clear. Clear. Got advantage.
Going to be there though. Outside, bumper cover outside.
Chase is going back. You're good by 2. Half bag now. Clear by 1. Clear by 2. Whatever you need here. You're 4 wide. 4 wide. Go top side. All in there. 24 on the bottom. Clear low. Good. 18's a half back. 4 bottom. 4 bottom. 3 bottom.
Wow, did you see that move by Kyle Busch?
I did. I was pointing right at it.
I watched him that whole time. He leapt off and went to the high lane to get momentum off the top. And as they got side by side off of turn 2, he just dove to the bottom.
It's amazing. Just amazing.
So here he comes.
Same back here, but right here he dives to the inside.
It's as if he knew that outside lane was going to start to domino and check up. And when it did, man, he passed 4 or 5 cars.
He has such a presence about him.
He's on the throttle here. He's got great momentum. Denny Hamlin jumps right up in front of him.
Great move. Chase Elliott, who gained 6 spots on pit road with a great stop, is up to 3rd.
And look who he's got right behind him, too. Kyle Larson. A couple Chevrolets going to get up there in the mix.
There you go. Your man, Kyle Larson, finally made it up toward the front here, Jeff. Looking pretty good.
Well, and I'm just going to be really curious to see what happens as these guys get some clean air. You know, they're sitting there 3rd and 4th right now. Best track position they've had all day.
Jamie.
Alan Gustafson, who calls the shots, he's a crew chief for the 9, told me this morning their weakness was their straight line speed. They were lacking, but he said our car drives so well, so if we get the right brakes, make the right adjustments, we could have a shot. And 2 stops ago, Chase said his car is good, and he apologized. He lagged on the restart. This restart, he nailed it.
Kyle Busch just did it again. Went from middle to the top of the track in turn 4. Threaded the needle, went to the bottom.
Okay, that move he made off turn 4, that's impossible.
But he did it.
But he made it. Watch this. A little gap, a little gap. Here I come, here I come. Inside, inside.
Middle, gap.
Out, and there I go.
Bottom. Wow.
I mean, that's just confidence as a driver. Obviously, he's got a fast race car, but, I mean, to make those kinds of moves.
Slicing and dicing, baby.
Great shots from our Toyota onboard camera. As Kyle Busch has now fought his way back to 14th from 18th on the restart.
If that was a video game, I'd have to hit reset because I don't think I would have made it.
Third place, Joey Logano coming after Chase
42,
Elliott.
2 back off of you. Watch that 42. 1 back outside bumper. Coming to the 42. Half back a lane lower. Clear. All clear, both lanes.
Clint Boyer down on the apron, starting to puff a bit of smoke. Likely headed for pit road, but wow. Blaney coming right up to Chase Elliott as well. Dogfight for fourth here.
You know, Mike.
Whoa!
Oh my gosh!
Little contact, little side drafting going on between Ryan Blaney and Chase Elliott.
Got some Chevys that are mixing it up pretty good here, guys. Larson in third, and Kurt Busch sixth. Elliott seventh. They're coming after him.
And our pole sitter, Austin Dillon, coming back into the picture. He recovering from a blown tire when he was in fifth place at lap 56, and he's right back in the mix in eighth.
Yeah, he's going to show us that winning that pole, it might not have been a conventional way of doing it, but got a car that could have done it, and by golly, it's going somewhere today.
Clint Boyer's taken his ailing car to the garage area. Only car out of the race. Might be a little haze of smoke off of Chase Elliott from that contact.
Yeah, I don't think it's serious, but I do think it's just a tiny bit of haze as the car went through 3 and 4 the last time by from that tiny bit of contact with the 12. You can see right there that fender has just wrinkled a tiny bit. I don't think that's going to be an issue.
Yeah.
So Brad Keselowski out front now. Kevin Harvick in second, 1 second back, 4 Fords at the front.
I know about Zorro.
Catherine Zorro Jones. 63 laps to go. Brad Keselowski, there he is, 2 seconds up on Kevin Harvick, Joey Logano, Ryan Blaney, and Kurt Busch. Well, it's that time. Time to take a look at the Credit One Bank ones to watch. Jeff.
Yeah, Mike, we have not seen a repeat winner yet this year, but I think while we're out west, we are going to see just that out of a driver who has finished in the top 5 last 3 races here at Auto Club, Joey Logano.
You know, Jeff, when this race started, we didn't even know if Brad Keselowski in that 2 car was going to be able to stay on the lead lap. Paul Wolf swung for the fence. He's up there leading the race. A Ford has not won here since 2015. That comes to an end today.
I don't know, Larry. My guy's got moves like Jagger, or maybe he's like Zuro. Maybe he's like Zuro in a race car. He's leaving his mark on this sport big time. Kyle Busch, you can't deny him.
Well, this time last year, Kevin Harvick already had 3 wins. They're still looking for their first win of 2019, but right now Kevin is running second. The crew chief Rodney Childers just made a wedge adjustment to free him up. It might be the adjustment that takes Harvick into winner's circle for the first time this season.
I'm really afraid to pick after last week because honestly, I have no idea who's going to win this race. However, I'm going to keep an eye on Kurt Busch, the only Chevy driver to score a top 5 this season. He won back here in 2003. Let's see if he can pick up that 3rd top 5 of the year. And that's our Credit One Bank ones to watch.
So, Mike, who do you think will win this race?
That was a peace sign, Darrell.
I tell you, with Motley Crue, when they were the Grand Marshal of this race, and Gentlemen Start Your Engine, that just inspired me. Inspired me about different music that I've heard through the years.
How many Motley Crue CDs do you have?
I was going to say, I always thought he was a big Vince Neil fan.
I don't have any. I didn't even know what car they were pitting. I just knew they were here.
Okay. Keselowski 2.7 up on Kevin Harvick. This is for 11th place. Eric Jones, Kyle Larson, Daniel Suarez right with him, doing that top-to-bottom run. Dr. Feelgood is their
oh, yeah. But remember, I'm the guy
CD.
that went to the Celine Dion's concert in Las Vegas.
That's right. And we lost you for a
day.
Yeah,
and they couldn't find me.
Great battle here for 11th.
Yeah,
nice.
nice.
This is happening about 10.5 seconds off the lead.
Yeah, nice move by Daniel Suarez. It looks like Daniel's, just really nice and consistent, making some good moves. Seems to have a fast race car. Side drafting here off of Eric Jones.
Boy, Jones is on. He's falling. He's back to 11th, and there goes a 41 by him. Suarez, I don't know what happened to the 20 car. We thought they had something going, but not so much here lately.
We're going to move up a couple of battles and up about 7 seconds back of the lead to Eric Almirola, who we talked to on the pace laps today. See how his race is going.
Wrong. I don't know. I know I'm in worse traffic, but it is plowing.
10-4, guys. Copy the track position. Everything looks good in here.
And the car was on the free side when he had a little bit of clean air out in front, but you could hear much more issues with it just plowing tight when he was back in traffic there. When you look at the 10 car, DW, you learned it when you went to Junior Johnson's. That ignited your career, and this has also ignited Eric's. He won last year at Talladega. He's working on his 4th straight top 10 finish this year, which would tie a career best. And by the way, he's never had a top 10 here at Auto Club.
Oh, man, you're right. When I drove for Junior Johnson, it upped my confidence. I thought I was a pretty good race car driver, but Junior Johnson made me believe I was the best driver out there, and I had to perform. I didn't want to disappoint Junior Johnson. He was my hero. Last American hero, he was my hero.
And when you talk about plowing, you hear them talking about plowing. It's just those front tires aren't working, aren't turning the car the way that Eric really wants it to. And the downside to that is probably traffic did have a lot to do with that, but that builds the right front and the left front air pressure up, and it almost never really recovers.
Looking at this 8th place race, Chase Elliott and our pole sitter, Austin Dillon. Vince?
Well, you got to give a shout out to Dillon. So sick. He was in the medical center taking IVs this morning. As mentioned on the radio that he's not feeling great, but he's hanging in there. And their team is certainly taking care of business in the pit box. He came after having that right rear go out, and they repaired that car well enough to get him back into the top 10. Not to mention staying on the lead lap, but getting back into the top 10 and running with some good pace. Tip of the cap to Danny Stockman, the crew chief, and this team over the wall. Done some great work on that 3 car today.
Watching 14th place battle here. Thanks, Vince. Jimmy Johnson and Martin Truex. About 14 seconds off the lead.
I think they made Truex's car a little bit better, Mike. All that damage to the right rear. Yep. These cars are so aero dependent. They rely on that right side of that car for side force. When you damage that right rear quarter panel like that, it hurts the side force, which hurts the handling of the car. So they've done a pretty nice job of patching him up.
So Truex back up in the top 15 with 55 laps to go, and 4 Fords out in front of the field.
I wasn't meeting them famous people during intros. Are they famous? You're such a young kid. Yeah, I like Motley Crue. If you didn't know who Motley Crue was, me and you were going to have issues. I think you have me and William mixed up there. He definitely doesn't know who they are. 10-4.
It's race day. We made big improvements on the car yesterday, so hopefully we're pretty decent. We're starting pretty far back. It's going to be all about track position, super hard to pass, but we'll see what we can do and hopefully have a good solid day.
Go out there and do our job today. Car was good enough to put us in victory lane. Alex, have a solid day.
A little slow here. Be ready. Green. All rolling ahead. Still lined up outside. Too tight right now. Need more front grip. Ripping the bottom to 3 and 4 need to made ground. I don't know if it'll kill the tires or not. Coming in hot. Clear. How's his problem? He's such a f***ing idiot. Now you're middle three.
Whoa, trouble. Crash, turn 2.
Watch the spin, check up right in front of you. Get down inside.
The Monster Energy NASCAR Cup Series Auto Club 400. It's sponsored by Ally. Do it right. 51 laps to go at Auto Club Speedway. Next Sunday, the Monster Energy Series moves over to FS1 as NASCAR's finest battle on the shortest track on the circuit, the historic Martinsville Speedway in Southern Virginia. Pre-race 12:30 Eastern, race action at 2. It's all happening on FS1 and on the Fox Sports app.
Oh, baby, DW next week, Martinsville.
The paperclip. It's the hardest short track you'll ever race on.
Today's aerial coverage provided by Goodyear. Everything we learn making tires for the grueling demands of NASCAR inspires what we roll into yours. Goodyear, official tire of NASCAR, giving us these great views from the Goodyear blimp, headquartered nearby in Carson, California. There's your leader, Brad Keselowski, 4.6 seconds ahead of his Penske teammate, Joey Logano.
Yeah, who recently just passed Kevin Harvick for second.
Third place battle closing up. Kevin Harvick from Stewart-Haas ahead of Ryan Blaney in the 12 and Kurt Busch in the number 1.
Ryan Blaney, last time by, he was the fastest car on the racetrack.
Boy, remember, he had such a great run last week, led the race late. Ended up third, but boy, did he have a good run. And that's what they need. I think that's the confidence builder they needed coming in here today to get a good run today.
Well, this track is a lot like Atlanta, and Ryan Blaney led a lot of laps, was very fast until they had an issue late. Jamie, what's going on with that 12?
Yeah, they've been making good adjustments, but it sounds like they didn't go quite far enough with the air pressure on the last round of stops. He's saying he's wicked loose, and it's all in the back of the car. He's out of the track a bit, so they'll add some more tape, and they'll add air pressure in those rear tires to help him out.
Thanks, Jamie. Now, the two drivers that were penalized, Denny Hamlin restarted 19th. He's up to 11th. Kyle Busch restarted 18th. He is up to 6th.
Need to be about a half a number to a number freer. Just more front turn. I've used up the front tires a hell of a lot here, so maybe that's just why. 10-4.
Blaney with a run on Harvick. This is for third place.
And what you heard on the radio there, that's just a product of being in traffic and having to be aggressive to make some of those moves to work your way to the front, but it takes a big toll on the front tires.
You know, guys, I've been trying to put my mind on what Adam Stevens, Kyle Busch's crew chief, is thinking right now. Remember, when he was out there leading earlier under green flag stops, he was the last car to come to pit road. So here's what I think they need to do. They can't do what everybody else does. If you do what everybody else does, he's sitting there 8.5 seconds behind the leader right now. So everybody is thinking about splitting this stage in half. So what's going to happen is somewhere around 35 or 40 to go right there. That's about halfway through the stage. I think Adam Stevens, he needs to short pit. He needs to pit before that and try to take advantage of those fresh tires, or either run it further out, and then that way you're not just doing everything like everybody else. But I think I would short pit. I'd come before that 35 to 40 to go.
Well, it's just incredible to me how much this race is playing out similar to yesterday's Xfinity race, where Kyle dominated that race and ended up finishing second when he lost that track position.
Well, if I'm Kyle Busch, he's up to 6th place. I mean, he's made an incredible run back to the front. His pit crew, and the way he gets on pit road and the way he gets off, not counting speeding, he's going to make a lot of time up when we come down pit road here. So I think he's still got a chance of winning this race.
Now his teammate Denny Hamlin also got nabbed for speeding and also has gained about 8 spots since the restart, Matt.
Mike, their days seem to mirror each other. You mentioned both were nabbed for speeding. You heard Kyle talk about how his car is too tight, needs to turn more. That's exactly what Denny Hamlin is saying. It's just really swung to the right side, to the tight side for that number 11, and Chris Gabehart told him they're looking to pit around lap 167 to 172 window, which would be, if you go back to the radio traffic, about 5 to 7 laps later than their teammate, the 18 of Kyle Busch.
We'll find out soon. 45 laps to go in Southern California. Welcome back to the Auto Club 400 on Fox. Auto Club Speedway right now is a Team Penske paradise. Keselowski leading Logano by 3.5, and Blaney, his other teammate, by almost 4 seconds. Paul Menard, the first to hit pit road among lead lap cars as they make what could be the final green flag stop of the day. Alex Bowman in as well. Joey Logano and Ryan Blaney coming to pit road. Jamie.
Well, Ryan Blaney was ready to come in. As I mentioned, he was just wicked loose, definitely in the back. They want to go a little further with those air pressure adjustments. Last time it was on the front end. This time it'll be on the back end. A 4-tire stop. His teammates in the 22 with Vince.
That 22 of Joey Logano is just tight, and they're going to go up a couple of rounds on the track bar to try to free him up. 4 tires as well. Logano pitted from second place. If it goes green, they're done on pit road for the day. You see the 3 of Austin Dillon on the right-hand side of your screen. It's just going to be 4 tires for Dillon as well. They really like the way that car is handled, despite the fact they've had to make some repairs to the right rear. They did make an adjustment there to the chassis in the right rear window.
And the leader is in Brad Keselowski in heavy traffic on pit road. Gets around Matt Tifft and trails Jimmy Johnson into his pit. Vince.
And Keselowski said, don't touch it. If we were pitting under yellow, maybe we could make a little adjustment, but it's pretty darn good. A tick snug, and otherwise it's just going to be 4 tires for Brad Keselowski.
So Kyle Busch goes back to the lead. He and Chris Buescher have not yet stopped. Neither has Matt DiBenedetto or Ricky Stenhouse among the lead lap cars. Matt?
And the 11 of Denny Hamlin came a little bit early from the lap window that they were looking at. They made an air pressure change on that 11. His teammate, Kyle Busch, his team up on the wall.
So only 4 drivers have yet to stop among the lead lap cars. Kyle Busch, Chris Buescher, Matt DiBenedetto, Ricky Stenhouse.
Well, what's going to be really interesting here is prior to that sequence, Kyle Busch was about 8.62 seconds back to our leader, Brad Keselowski. Now Brad and all those other leaders that were ahead of Kyle Busch, they're on fresh tires. So how long do you stay out there, Larry?
Yeah, I think, Jeff, they've made their bed. They have to lay in it now. They've got to run this thing as far as they can, which is probably another 6 to 8 laps. And this may bring the caution that Kyle Busch needs. If he gets a caution, he's going to bring everybody to pit road, but they've got to run it out.
Bubba Wallace in trouble. Now, the caution would fly if he puts debris out on the racetrack.
Yeah, there's debris everywhere.
And there it is. Caution is out.
Stay ahead of him.
Talk about the luck of the Irish.
I was worried about that after he got that speeding penalty, but I feel better about it now. That front tire on the 43 just, I mean, it flew all apart, knocked the fender off the thing, knocked half the hood off.
I believe that caution may officially be for debris as Bubba Wallace has a tire let go on the left front. Here's a look at it right near our leader. Or our former leader, Brad Keselowski, now second. And right here.
Yeah, and you see the debris starts to fly, and of course pieces going everywhere.
Boy, yeah, that thing disintegrated. Now, I don't know if this is actually going to work in Kyle Busch's favor or not. I mean, yes, he's going to have a little bit fresher tires on his car when we go back to green, but he is going to lose, what, 4 or 5 different positions on the track, as he's the only one still out there, I think, of those leaders.
So, Larry, the leaders that came in have between 3 and 4 laps on their tires. Would they come back?
Yeah, I think you'll see a lot of them up near the front, like the Penske cars. They may stay out, Mike, with those few laps, but I think a lot of them come to pit road and get 4 fresh tires. This was the only chance that Kyle Busch had. I'm like Jeff. I'm not sure it's going to work in his favor, but it's the only shot he had was staying out there like he did and catching a caution.
Shamrocks and shillelaghs.
There's another guy that benefited from that caution.
Yeah, he stayed out along with Kyle Busch, and the 11, it looks like, of Denny Hamlin's a lap down.
Kurt Busch will get the free pass on this caution. Now, he was among those drivers that had made their stop, and there's a bunch of cars 1 lap down. And again, all of them have 3 or 4 green flag laps on their tires. A lot of those cars that are currently scored as 1 lap down will likely stay out and take the wave around to get back on the lead lap.
I think if I got to look at this situation and I'm Kyle Busch, I'm happy it happened the way it did, because that gives me a shot at winning this race.
35 laps to go. Here's the Progressive race summary of today thus far. Kyle Busch has won both stages. He is currently the leader because he chose not to make a green flag pit stop with everyone else over the last 5-lap period. Because of those green flag stops, we have 7 cars on the lead lap, 4 caution flags now, and 14 lead changes among 6 different leaders.
Hey, Mike, I'm going to say with only 7 drivers being on the lead lap, they're all going to come. You've got to come get 4 fresh tires, but absolutely those guys that are a lap down, they'll take the wave around.
They'll take a wave around, Larry. You got to come get tires, stay on the same base with the leader.
Before a quick pit stop, how about a quick word from Duracell?
This is the #1 trusted brand.
35 laps to go. And to Larry's point, with only 7 cars on the lead lap, why would you stay out?
Yeah.
Everybody else that's pinned a lap down would likely take the wave around. So we will restart with more than 7 cars on the lead lap. Maybe not all the way back to 21st, because there are 14 cars 1 lap down.
I'd say they'll take the wave around, because there's a pretty good chance that.
I don't think they have a choice. I think those guys that just came in that are a lap down, they have to stay out, hope that a caution comes out shortly after we go back green.
And Mike, remember, when we get to this stage of the race, aggression picks up. So is there probably a pretty good chance this isn't the last caution we're going to have?
There you go, 17-2, 22.
Kyle Busch in his pit. Brad Keselowski, Joey Logano coming down pit road along with Harvick and Stenhouse. Matt.
He smoked it into his box. They're already over on the left side, Mike. Big dilemma between Kyle and Adam Stevens. A little bit of trouble on the left front, getting the lugs there by Cam Wall. Just how much to adjust this 18 car because of where he'll be in traffic. He knows it needs to turn better, but he was worried about being so far back in dirty air. Vince?
For Brad Keselowski, it'll be 4 tires. They did put a piece of tape on the nose on that last stop. Otherwise, no adjustment. No, they put another piece of tape on that too again. The 22, a chassis adjustment there. You just saw it in the left rear, and the 4 car out and away as well, 4 tires.
So Ryan Blaney did not stop, and we're double checking on Kurt Busch. We'd said he was the free pass, but we'll have to double check that for you. 34 laps to go. Coach Gibbs looking on. dogs.
That's right.
Working the fourth caution of the day at Auto Club Speedway, Ryan Blaney, the leader, did not pit under this caution flag. He and Kyle Busch will have the front row on the restart. NASCAR confirmed Kurt Busch was the first car one lap down at the last scoring loop crossed before the caution came out. So he is the free pass car. Each week we take a look at a short track boss in the region. In Southern California, we got a lot of choices. But how about Ron's Sleepy Trip?
Well, if you're a fan like I am of open wheel racing on the dirt tracks and the short tracks here in Southern California, you certainly know who Ron Sleepy Trip is. This guy was a legend when it came to USAC open wheel midget racing. I actually had a chance to race against Ron, and man, what an incredible, tough competitor this guy was.
I gotta ask, how do you get the name Sleepy?
So I did a little research on this. I raced against him for years, never knew how, but I guess when he was a kid racing quarter midgets, he always used to like to sleep in that car.
He'd fall asleep between races?
Not when he was racing.
When else? Right. Shannon, help us.
Hey there, Mike. So far, the green car has been lucky, not lucky, and lucky again. Kyle Busch on this restart, Jamie. What do you think we're going to see from him?
Well, he's in the best position. He's got the newest tires. Ryan Blaney, I think, made a good call there to stay out. It's his shot of winning this race. But Kyle Busch has had the best car all day. Got a little bit lucky there with the caution. I think he'll be the guy to beat for the rest of it.
You are Ryan Blaney. You do what on this restart, Ricky?
Well, you try to maintain, because if he can run 3, 4, 5 laps and let the tires equalize to everybody else, he's going to be okay, because with 10 laps to go before they pitted, Ryan Blaney and Kyle Busch were the 2 fastest cars. So a long run to the finish, Ryan Blaney has a chance.
Mike, we've been working on our Gaelic on this St. Patrick's Day. Slante to all of you.
Thank you, Shannon.
There you go.
Well done. So 26 drivers took the wave around, and that includes the 14 drivers who were 1 lap down, get back on the lead lap. Have a quick look at Toyota top performers, and there they are. Kyle Busch in second. Denny Hamlin, Eric Jones, Martin Truex, Matt DiBenedetto, all among the 21 drivers on the lead lap.
Better tighten them belts up, buddy. We're getting ready to go for a ride.
Going to be 31 laps to go as they take the green flag for the restart.
Well, Ryan Blaney's teammates not doing him any favors, giving a huge shove to Kyle Busch to take over that lead. But look at this move by Keselowski to the quarter panel of the 18.
He gave Busch a shove to create some clean air on the outside.
They're gonna team up on him here. You got the 2, the 22, and the 12 right back here. Kyle's gonna have his hands full with these guys.
Big move by the 4. Getting a big shove from the 11 of Denny Hamlin to get to the rear bumper. The 22 going to the outside, 3 wide.
Boy, I haven't seen Kyle Busch down that apron all day long. He's been rim riding most of the day, but that was where he went that time.
We have not seen Kevin Harvick with this kind of takeoff speed, but we have seen this before. Kyle Busch up front goes back to about 3rd or 4th. Give him a couple laps and we'll see where he really is at.
It seems like after about, like you said, Jeff, after about 7, 8, 9, 10 laps, he gets going.
Boy, and Kurt Busch right in the mix with them. That caution could not have been timed better for driver number 1, the black car.
And you can see Blaney back there in 6th position, getting battled for 7th, and just those 3 or 4 laps on tires. This track is so abrasive; it just takes so much out of them.
Yeah, Blaney almost got run over off turn 2 over there just then because he couldn't get off like these guys with the fresher tires. It's definitely going to hurt him.
Blaney is back to 7th. The 6 drivers who stopped during the caution are now the first 6th. And here go the Busch brothers. And for the lead, Logano Keselowski.
Boy, look at that outside line, though, Mike. That high line off turn 2 gives you that good shot off that corner down that back straightaway. That's what Keselowski's been good at here lately.
Joey Logano has great short run speed on that 22 car. I mean, we saw where he got shuffled back a little bit, but just seems like he can really maintain momentum better than about anybody for the first few laps. So that's why he's trying to pounce on his teammate, the 2, Brad Keselowski. Get that track position. Maybe he can maintain it.
You know, last year I think Kevin Harvick had a great car. He was going for 4 in a row, but he took himself out when he and Kyle Larson got together. But today, maybe his strategy is going to pay off.
Daniel Suarez with our Coca-Cola camera battling his teammate, the 19 of Martin Truex, for position, and they may have had a little contact racing for 13.
Boy, that's tight racing right there.
Or was it Chase Elliott, or there goes Suarez to the bottom?
Whoa.
Yeah, Truex and Elliott.
I think when Suarez went out behind the 19 car, it shot him over into the 9, made him get loose.
Here's 6th place. Now both Blaney and Dillon stopped at lap 160. They have slightly older tires than the front 5 and Stenhouse.
Yeah, I don't care what happens to the 3-car today. That kid has put in a yeoman's day work here. He doesn't feel good. He got in that car, started from the pole, lost a lap, got it back, and run in the top 6. Pretty good job for him. Top
Roger
8.
Penske has long said no team orders. Just don't take each other out.
Well,
they're working on both of those things.
Better get on that radio, Junior. Roger, they get a little close.
And Kyle Busch is coming fast while these two are running side by side. Boy, really nice job. Joey Logano battling, fighting that side draft, the two of Keselowski. Now here comes Kyle Busch diving to the bottom.
Kyle Busch, it could all be over, boys.
Man, he's going to clear Logano.
It could all be over.
Unreal. That just shows you how good that race car is.
Yeah, it took him a lap or two to get his tires, a little air pressure belt on my tire, but once he did, he took off.
So the top 5 in this race all have fresher tires, and by the way, they are all past champions of this series.
Well, this is one of the toughest racetracks. The abrasiveness, the different lanes that you have to choose. You can run up against the wall. What you have to do to get your car balanced out to run well, not just on the short run, but the long run. That's the best teams and the best drivers that get that done.
Jamie?
How about Kurt Busch and what a great job he's doing with this new Ganassi team this year led by Matt McCall. They're coming into this race with 3 straight top 10 finishes. He just jumped into the top 5. They have been adjusting on this car. They told me this morning they never were decent this weekend, and he's driving the wheels off. They got the free pass. They made a wedge adjustment, air pressure, and it's come to life.
It has. He's going after Kevin Harvick.
You know what, Jeff, to your point about the best of the best ends up winning here, we've run 29 races here. 22 of them have been won by a champion, including the 3 you won, pal.
You know what I like? When they shortened this to 400 miles, I think it made it a much more entertaining, much more fun race to watch and to cover. Shorten that extra 100 miles, but this has really been a great race.
Yeah, it just creates a little bit more urgency, especially on these restarts. We've seen how you get fanned out 4 and 5 wide, but you got to go. I mean, there's no hesitation.
Because they didn't take those 100 miles off the end of the race. They just took it out of the middle.
Which end of the rope was that?
Well, I can tell you, Kyle Busch is just taking the air out of everybody behind him.
You might say he set sail.
Kyle Busch on the cusp of 200 wins across NASCAR's 3 National Series.
I mean, it's kind of fun personally to kind of look at the different numbers that Richard has, or people will compare, like, oh, Richard did it this way and he did it better and his mean more, or Kyle, or whatever, and the debate that goes back and forth. But you still have those people that will be forever Richard Petty fans or Kyle Busch haters that will always discredit any achievement that anybody ever achieves that could be better than somebody else. Will I ever be considered one of the greats? I don't know. Probably not. Will I feel like I've fulfilled my career to the best that I possibly could? Absolutely.
Kyle Busch out front by 1.3 seconds, going for 2 in a row and looking for his 53rd victory in what is now the Monster Energy NASCAR Cup Series.
You know, compared to the 2 if you want to, but nobody else has done what Kyle Busch has done. Just nobody did what Richard Petty did.
Here's a look at Kyle Busch's day. That pit penalty was very costly, but now the younger of the 2 brothers from Las Vegas has made his way back to the lead with 21 laps to go. We'll go Fox side by side. story. But 18 laps to go in Southern California. Kurt Busch side by side with Kevin Harvick, 4th place.
Boy, you got to be impressed with Kurt Busch.
That is amazing.
I mean, we have not seen a lot out of the Chevrolets this year. We know that they have some more work to do, but boy, of the Chevrolets, he has been the best one week in and week out. Impressive run.
Seems everybody likes that high line in turns 1 and 2. Maybe not so much. At turns 3 and 4.
Kurt's driving that thing too. Yep. You see the back end stepping out as he's trying to apply the throttle.
Well, you know, it's kind of funny. It's a 1-year deal. So he's driving for his job, really. I mean, he's almost like he's auditioning for his job every week.
Well, and I want to give a shout out to Mark Truex Jr. Just went by these two, the 10 of Eric Almirola and the 3 of Austin Dillon, who, by the way, awesome job for him sticking in there, you know, and toughing it out, having an illness. But the 19 car of Mark Truex Jr. just went by these two like they were standing still, and that thing has a lot of damage on behind the right rear tire.
Matt?
They're certainly soldiering on. In fact, at one point, Jeff, when he hit pit road to work on that damage, they had a game plan that they were going to service the car, and then Cole Pearn was going to send a second crew over the wall to fix the damage. So when they serviced the car, Cole went, go, go, go. Darrell, Jeff, you're a former driver. When you hear that, what do?
You go, go, go.
That's exactly what Truex did. He dropped the clutch and went down pit road, so they had to bring him back again. But they got it fixed up, and this is one of those days where you leave here and you feel like it wasn't your day, but you certainly executed like a champion.
Well, Matt, he's had some great runs. Second in Atlanta, second last week. This car is notoriously good on the long run, and he's showing it again today. He has really passed a lot of cars here late.
Here's our Ford onboard camera with Eric Almirola. We talked to him on the pace laps. He's been hanging around the top 10 most of the day. Here he is in 9th place, 11 seconds
he's
back.
doing what I think he does best. He's very consistent. That's what got him to 5th in the points at the end of last year.
Alex Bowman holding 21st. He is the last car on the lead lap. That's our nationwide camera pulling up behind Ty Dillon there. Ryan Newman will be the first car 1 lap down.
I know those Hendrick guys, they got to be a little bit disappointed, Mike. The 24 is running 16th, the 48 is running 17th. Bowman over here in 21st. I know they were thinking they were going to have a better day in that.
Yeah, we heard out of Chase Elliott that he thought his car was driving pretty good, just didn't have the straight line speed. I think we've heard the same sort of out of the 24 and 48. 88 of Alex Bowman seems to have had to work on a little bit more, but I definitely think they're going to be disappointed.
14 laps to go, and suddenly Kyle Busch's lead is shrinking, Matt.
It's that chemistry, Mike, between spotter and driver. Tony Hirschman III has been calling the races for Kyle Busch since 2012. He's telling him what Logano and Keselowski are doing behind him as far as lane choice, whether they're finding grip and speed, and at this juncture, they're not. And by the way, since today is St. Patrick's Day, a big shout out to one of our passionate race fans all the way to Dublin, Ireland. Pete Owens has watched our races since 2006, hasn't missed one. So on St. Patrick's Day, a big shout out to the green.
And you know who else's birthday is today? Tiger Tom Pistone. Happy birthday,
guys,
Tiger.
Keep an eye on this right here. You see 13 to go. If I look at the last 8 spring races here, because that's when we went to 400 miles, the average of the last caution, lap 188, 12 laps to go. And in the last 5 races, Mike, we went to overtime 4 times.
Boy, Larry, I think that would be bad news for the 18 car, because we've seen him struggle on these restarts. Takes him 3 or 4 or 5 laps to get going. That could be a big problem for him.
Half of the last 8 races here have ended with a last lap pass.
And that's typical for the end of the races, especially when you're running this close to the wall. It's just you get more aggressive. You start taking more chances, more risks. You end up slapping the wall that right side. What does that do? That usually cuts down a right side tire, right front or right rear.
Well, the lead has kind of been going back and forth. Joey Logano had it down to just below 2 seconds. Kyle Busch opened it up. Now Logano kind of holding station right about 2.3 seconds, and now the gap increases a little bit.
I think Kyle Busch is just watching the guy behind him. If he seems to close a little bit, he'll step it up. I think Kyle is sitting on, he's saving a little bit in case he needs it.
Well, and I'd also say that the 22 of Joey Logano, he's searching around a little bit, and every once in a while he finds a groove where he can carry just a little bit more speed through the corner.
Keep doing your deal. Let him get greedy. 43 is going to be up ahead, wounded. 10 more.
I'd say what he's saying is, let that 22 car overdrive. He's trying to he's chasing, he's trying to catch you. Let him do the overdriving. You just run your pace.
Well, yesterday in the Xfinity race, it was Kyle trying to chase down the race leader, Cole Custer, in pretty much the same interval. And it was Custer who went to victory lane.
I think the way the cars are spaced out, Mike, the 18 going into 3, here comes the 22 into 3, here comes the 12 into, or the 2 into 3. They're spaced out to where they're not helping or hurting each other. So it's how you run the lap around the racetrack that makes the difference.
Two Chevrolets fighting for 10th, Austin Dillon and Chase Elliott. If Chase makes this pass and holds on to it, hey, free pickles on Monday, right?
Hey.
That's right.
At your local Hooters. But he's got to finish in the top 10, not just make this pass.
Fried pickles, Mike. Come on.
Free fried pickles.
Yeah.
That's right.
I've been in a few pickles in my time. There's a rhyme about that. Let me see how that. No, it's
9 to go.
Thank you, Mike.
Larson, Stenhouse, Suarez. A couple of seconds apart there. So the gap has stabilized at about 2.4 seconds. Let's take a ride with Kyle Busch.
I just think this is where one of his strong spots all day long has been off this turn 2 right here. Every time I saw him race somebody, he could pull him off turn 2, Jeff.
Yeah, and you can see he's choosing to run one lane further down the racetrack than we've seen Joey Logano. Enters real high right up next to the wall, crosses over that seam, and like I said, runs his second lane from the top.
Yeah, I don't think he's looking for anything, Mike. I think he's found it.
When you can hear, he's not. We've been on board with some drivers through the corners today, and you can hear them feathering the throttle, letting in and out of it, right on the edge. Not Kyle Busch. Once he goes back to the throttle, he seems to go wide open and be able to hold it wide open.
Joey Logano that time was a quarter second faster than Kyle Busch. Knocks that gap down to just about 2 seconds.
Could have been as he went around the 43 car. He passed Bubba Wallace here on the front. It might have hindered him a little wee bit, but we'll see how this lap shakes out. Coming to 6 to go.
Interesting, that time through 3 and 4, Kyle Busch changed up his line a little bit. He went all the way to the top next to the wall, just like Joey Logano.
And the gap increases.
Yeah, it's just back and forth. I think traffic had a little bit to do with that the lap before. I don't see a big difference in the gap as I watch them off the corners here.
And again, you see that time. That's his spotter, I believe, doing an excellent job giving him information, meaning to Kyle Busch, telling him where the 22 of Logano's running, where the 2 of Keselowski's running.
Yeah, right now is when the spotter is so important because he tells you what that gap is. If he's gaining or if you're where you're gaining, where you're losing. That's what the driver needs to hear right now.
So keep taking care of it. 5 to go. He's got to do all the work to get to it. Take care of your stuff. 66 here. Grab what you can. He'll stay bottom then. 5 more. 2.5.
Excellent lap right there.
It was.
For Kyle Busch.
I think he has that. I just think he's sitting on a little something if he needs it.
Clear.
Brad Keselowski remains about 3.5 back. Kurt Busch 7.
34, and then 52 will be bottom.
And then Harvick, the top 5.
Mike, I was always a big fan of using the start-finish line as a gauge of where the car behind me was. So when I come across the start-finish line, we see Kyle coming off of 4. His spotter's going to tell him, or he could tell him, you're at the line now, and the 22 car is at the line now. So it kind of gives you an idea about how far ahead of the guy you are without doing that 2 or 3 second thing.
And I just wonder if those Penske teammates of Brad Keselowski and Joey Logano are going to rethink a little bit of the way they race one another on this last restart, because they raced one another really, really hard. I think it may not only slowed them down a little bit to allow Kyle Busch to get closer to him, I'm wondering if it didn't use up a little bit of those tires also. Not saying they could have held off Kyle Busch either way. Kyle has definitely been the dominant car today.
That's probably on page number 19 or 20 of woulda, coulda, shoulda.
Yeah, you're right about
so
that.
Joe Gibbs Toyota's running 1st, 7th, and 9th. The Penske Fords 2nd, 3rd, and 6th. Chip Ganassi Chevy in 4th. And Stewart Haas, their Ford, in the top 5 and 5th with Harvick.
I just thought a tip of the hat to Kyle for making this interesting, because that speed road, that penalty got on pit road for speeding, put him back in the pack. And we saw him do some amazing things with that race car.
Well, a number of bright spots today. Harvick rebounds for a top 5 after being a no-show at Phoenix last week. Clear. Kurt Busch will get his 3rd top 5 of the season. Most of all the Chevrolets, in fact, the only Chevrolet to do so.
3 buffer.
4th place. Under discussion here, Kurt Busch, Kevin Harvick, Chevy Ford battle.
Yeah,
with 2 to go.
Ever since Kurt Busch made this pass on Kevin Harvick, I've seen his lap times drop just a little bit. Probably pushed it a little bit too hard trying to get by Kevin Harvick. Maybe took a little bit off of those tires, or the balance started to change. And we saw Kurt Busch before, when he made the pass on Kevin Harvick, sliding the back end of that car out. So it's not as if that car's on rails.
Coming to the white flag. 1 lap to go. Sponsored by Credit One Bank. For Kyle Busch, 2.4 ahead of Joey Logano.
So you got the white flag. Now all you want to do is see clear sailing in front of you. No lap cars. Keep it out of the wall. Make sure nothing else goes wrong. No vibrations.
And you got a 2.5 second lead. Use it.
This might be the slowest lap that Kyle Busch runs all day.
It would be for me, I know that.
Quarter. I'm doing their very bottom.
Between 3 and 4 and headed for home. Kyle Busch in his Joe Gibbs Toyota is going to win his 53rd race in the Cup Series and hit his magic number 200 in Southern California.
Awesome race car. Thank you. All I do is win, no matter what. Can you imagine if I could have gotten Vegas and yesterday? How many in a row? How many?
He's feeling confident.
Joey Logano finishes 2nd, 2.3 back.
Buddy, when I say thanks for letting us be a part of it, man, you are the best.
Brad Keselowski 3rd, 4 seconds back. Kevin Harvick 9 seconds, and Ryan Blaney 9 seconds back. They're the top 5. And Kurt Busch is denied that top 5 finish. He ends up 6th in his Chevrolet.
Yeah, but Mike, did you hear that the confidence that crew has in their driver, Kyle Busch? I mean, just thanking him for letting us be a part of this historic day. And today is a historic day any way you want to look at it.
He may not yet be the best of all time, but he is the best of his time.
No doubt about
Kyle
that.
Busch.
You cannot argue how good Kyle Busch is.
Joe Gibbs' crew has the flag for 200 victories across NASCAR's 3 National Series, Trucks, Xfinity, and the Monster Energy Cup Series. Today's victory was fueled by Sunoco. Sunoco fueling victories all season long. It was never a question of if, only when.
And he said it on the radio. I mean, he has been on a heck of a roll, just knocking down wins, whether it be Xfinity, Truck, Cup.
I just said it. What if he hadn't had a problem at Vegas? Could have been. We could be talking about one every race.
53rd Cup victory coming in his 503rd start. Second win of the season and this year's first repeat race winner.
To me, the one thing that's just undebatable, if you do want to compare him to Richard Petty, is that they both gave themselves more opportunities to win than anybody else. If you look, I mean, he's coming up on his 1,000th race.
Exactly.
Right? And Richard Petty, I know, raced over 1,000 times also. But boy, their win percentage is incredible.
It's the first time that Kyle will go to victory lane after a speeding penalty. That happened back at lap 123 of 200. The last driver who won here after getting caught speeding was Casey Kane back in 2006. 160th career win for Joe Gibbs Racing in the Cup Series.
And Mike, you know, there was a time when I didn't think I'd ever see anybody win 7 championships again. Jimmy Johnson did it. And there was definitely a time in my career where I thought nobody will ever win 200 races. I don't care how you do the math. Kyle Busch just did it.
And the sport has evolved, which is what makes it so difficult to compare eras.
Well, and now I think what we're going to talk about, and you sort of mentioned it and alluded to it, Mike, is that 100 number. As he starts racking up these Cup wins like he has the last 2 weeks, and he mentioned it himself when we interviewed him post-race last week, he talked about, I want to get to 100. Well, if he keeps at it like this, he won, what, 8 races last year?
Right.
This is already 2 this season. He might get there.
Kyle Busch out of the car, raises the flag.
Oh, boy.
And waves it for the fans.
Oh, buddy.
There's the signature bow.
And I don't think anybody knows how hard it's been to get to this 200 win mark than that guy right there. I mean, he's been behind the wheel, putting his heart and soul into every one of those races.
I think the thing that impresses me is the 3 different series, 3 different rule packages, 3 different crew chiefs, 3 different everything. He still prevails. Vince.
The anticipation is over, the speculation is over, and Kyle Busch has finally reached the number 200 across the 3 touring series. 200 NASCAR wins for Kyle Busch. You've finally done it. You've got it over, it's complete. How does 200 feel?
Feels just like number 1. Feels just like yesterday. Man. That was such an awesome race car. I mean, dang. This Interstate Batteries Camry was awesome today, and I'm glad we put on a heck of a show for all these fans out here in California at Auto Club Speedway. And, you know, it takes green to get in victory lane today. Today's St. Patty's Day, come on. So all the rest of them guys were at a disadvantage. I knew that all day long, and this Interstate Batteries green machine was flying today. So just awesome, just awesome. And to win 200, I mean, whatever it means a lot to me. It means a lot to all my guys, everybody at Joe Gibbs Racing. You guys are all the best. Toyota TRD, it's an amazing opportunity to drive for Joe Gibbs, and I cherish every minute of it and love it always. And just wish that we could keep it going like this, running strong, running well, and winning these races.
You did it. Congratulations. Kyle Busch, number 200.
Rowdy Nation will have a lot to celebrate tonight.